Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is going to be a real special meeting today. We got some exciting things going on here. So today is Tuesday, October the 22nd, 2024. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. And we have with us today Bishop Grady Gammons from the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. He's here last year, and we're so happy that he is here again with his lovely wife to give us the invocation. So, Bishop Gammons, would you do so, please?
Our Father in heaven, we come to Thee in prayer with gratitude in our hearts for this day, for this time, for the opportunity that we have to live in this great country and to live in the great state of Texas. Father, we pray for mercy, we pray for grace, we pray for wisdom, we pray for the members of this court. We pray for the citizens of Hood County. We pray for law enforcement and all the first responders. We pray that a measure of peace, a measure of grace might be granted unto them. We pray for unity, and we pray for our country at this time. Father, we love Thee, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Please join me in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the pledge to the great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Does he have his violin? Okay, now for a real special deal. We have Ridge Roberts here. I think everybody here in this room knows who this guy is because everybody in the nation does. This is the Grandmaster Fiddler of the United States. He's going to play the Star-Spangled Banner.
So I guess if we all rise again.
Amen.
Right. That marvelous. Okay. And now we have some special proclamations. And the first one is a proclamation honoring Hood County resident and Grandmaster Fiddler Ridge Roberts. We got him? Okay. You got your camera ready? I want my picture with this guy. He's going to be getting a Grammy.
Sorry.
this tall. And he was playing fiddle against, you remember this, against Eric Colden, our church, who's a fabulous fiddle player himself. And so they were doing like dueling fiddles, like they were in Deliverance on dueling banjos. But at the end, old Eric Colden ran to play the rock band, spoke over the bell. He just laid his fiddle down and everybody in the church just started howling. Young guy, we knew he was something special back then.
His mom and dad are here, Don and Cindy,
Yeah.
and Ryan Sinclair, any other relatives, family, friends?
Are you related to Wine Sinclair? You know, that takes a little away from sleep. I know Mr. and Mrs. Roberts from a long time too, and his brother Rio back there, who's really a special guy too. So, let me read this to you. This is to honor Ridge Roberts, National Grandmaster Fiddler. Whereas Ridge Roberts was born and raised in Hood County, Texas, and began playing the fiddle at the age of 7. And whereas the age of 9, Ridge began performing at civic organizations in Hood County and continues his functions in and around Hood County and across the country. And whereas in 2013, at the age of 10, Ridge entered and won his first fiddle contest. And whereas Ridge has won over 15 championships, including the Oklahoma State Championship, the Grand Lakes National Championship, the World Championship in croquet, all won in 2018, and the Colorado State Champion in 2019. Whereas in 2019, Ridge Roberts won his first Grandmasters champion at the age of 16. And whereas on June 22nd, 2024, Ridge won the Grand Championship at the National Old Time Fiddlers Contest in Weiser, Idaho. That's a big difference. And whereas on September the 1st, 2024, at the age of 21, Ridge secured his second victory at the prestigious Grandmasters Fiddle Contest held in Franklin, Tennessee. This competition, which attracts top fiddlers from coast to coast, is one of the most renowned events in the fiddling community. And whereas the Hood County Commissioners Court wishes to recognize our own Hood County native, Mr. Ridge Roberts, for his unprecedented achievements. Now, therefore, the Hood County Commissioners Court encourages all citizens of Hood County to join us in recognizing and congratulating Mr. Ridge Roberts for his dedication, phenomenal talent, and his outstanding achievement as a Grandmaster fiddle player. Signed his favorite. You want to, Mr. and Ms. Roberts, y'all want to come up here? You're okay? You guys got one shot. This is not as good as a recording contract, but it's, how we frame this, so you're a good man.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You want to say a few words
I would
here?
love to. You know, I did want to thank you, Judge Massingill, especially, and the whole commissioner's support. I want to thank the city of Granbury because y'all have supported me so much for, over 10 years, which for me is a long time. And of course, my parents, who supported me and took me around everywhere, and, just, it seems like I know I could not have done it without them because, they did everything for me. They paid for my lessons. And, my dad was the fiddle player, so he was the one that got me into it. Definitely would not have happened without him because who even learns to play with him? So, there's that as well. And then, most of all, thanks to the Lord for giving me the gift.
I guess we'll just leave this for the next one.
We got more.
Okay. Well, this is, I told you it's going to be exciting today. So we have the Star Spangled Banner, but we also have another outstanding award here. This is to honor Mr. Bob Luss, induction into the Texas Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. Let me tell you about this. The Texas Parks and Wildlife started this, I don't know, in the 70s or something. There's 39 members in this Hall of Fame deal. So this is a very prestigious organization to get into. So, Mr. Bob Luss, would you come on up here and receive?
We have a short video from
Oh.
what they showed at the Hall of Fame induction.
Oh, good. Well, let's watch this short video then so we can.
Particularly this subject, and I'm joking all the time, he should be a college professor, because he has such a gift
Right over my shoulder is a perfect.
of communication.
Well, he's not afraid of anything. He meets people real well. One of his favorite sayings is, you get one chance to make a good first impression, and he always does that.
Bob is an expert in his knowledge and ability to create quality fisheries in Spalding County really amazes me.
He was doing pond management before pond management was even a term. People would call and ask how they could grow bigger fish in their pond, and he would say, well, we need to implement some pond management practices. And they'd say, what's that?
Everything is symbiotic. It all works together. When someone builds a pond, not only is it a home for fish and plants and salamanders and frogs and turtles, but right above the water line, there's cool things going on. Like dragonflies come out, mayflies. Then there's birds that eat that. Then there's birds that eat those. So you can start to see that whole ecosystem blossom. Once I was able to wrap my brain around that, then it started making more sense on how to talk to them and how to coach them on the journey to be the better stewards that they can be.
He has traveled the United States to teach people the opportunities of managing their water, improving the environment for the fish and everything that lives in water.
The water's about the same, the size of the pond's about the same. It's just what you do with it that makes the difference. And Bob kind of started that. He started the Pond Boss magazine, and he made it started.
Mr. Pond Boss, tell me how. Hey, Mr. Pond Boss, let's do it now.
We started at, I think, 600 people, of which 200 of them were my clients. I sent letters to customers asking them for a check for a magazine that doesn't exist. I got 192 checks for $24. I think within the first year it grew to 750, and now I think we print 4,200 copies every time. We're in 42 states, plus all the Bass Pro Shops that sell magazines.
The magazine has made a difference educating the customer how to successfully manage your pond.
Bob's contribution to Still Truly has been his knowledge and his leadership, and the fact that he will gladly share all of the knowledge that he has learned with other people and do that willingly.
When I started, there were 750,000 private ponds and lakes. Now there's 1.3 million. And people need to know how to take care of that, and I can't do that by myself. So I love to share what I know. You know, I love to teach other people, but I love even more to watch them go do it.
The body condition of these fish is excellent. That's due to the fact that they're being fed well every day. So keep that in mind as you're evaluating your fishery. If you're going to go try to figure out if your fishery is balanced, this is part of what you're looking for.
He lives his life kind of like a sailor coming to the new world. And he's always looking something new. He wants to learn new stuff. He wants to meet new people all the time.
It totally drives him every moment of every day because he absolutely loves what he does.
What this career and what my clients have given me is a chance to never have a job, to follow my passion, to be able to go out and keep that fire burning and never snuff it out.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Good. I was taking a picture of his pen. I'm sending this to some of my friends and going to tell them that I just got awarded this. There's only 39 people in the whole state that have this, and look at this impressive. That looks like from Grauman's Theater, like a block there. That's a very impressive deal. So let's go ahead and do this. This is an official proclamation in honor of Mr. Bob Luss, induction into Texas Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. Whereas Mr. Bob Luss is a native Texan and a resident of Hood County, and whereas Bob has devoted his life to the study of aquaculture and fisheries management, earning a degree in the field from Texas A&M University in 1975. Go ahead, Bob. And whereas Bob's work has included revolutionizing care and upkeep of ponds, as well as developing fish foods and feeding practices, and whereas Bob was recognized with the 2020 American Fisheries Society AFS Award for Excellence in Public Outreach and Induction into the AFS Fisheries Management Section Hall of Excellence that same year. Pretty Tony there. Whereas Bob is a past president of the Texas Outdoor Writers Association and a recipient of the L.A. Wilkie Award, the organization's most prestigious honor. And whereas Bob is a true pioneer in the development and management of freshwater ponds and fisheries, he has rightfully earned his reputation as one of the country's foremost experts in the field, and his legacy of leading-edge research and innovation has had a profound impact on the anglers and fishery owners in Texas and around the world. And whereas Hood County Commissioner Court is honored to have Mr. Luss representing Hood County on the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, and whereas Hood County Commissioner Court wishes to recognize and congratulate Mr. Luss on his induction by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department into the Texas Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame on October the 11th, 2024. Now therefore, the Hood County Commissioners Court encourages all Hood County residents to join Hood County Commissioners Court in congratulating Mr. Bob Luss on his induction to the Texas Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. Thank you. That's pretty impressive. I'll hold this up and you build that up. Okay.
You want to hold this too?
There's one from the Texas legislature.
God, hey, you're not charging the county for anything for coming down here today, are you?
Not yet.
Hey, Rich, you're not charging anything either, are you? Good. All right, thank you. That was very,
We
hey,
don't have any hands to shake.
really. You sure to come out and I'm gonna see you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Bob, did you bring a caddy so we could shake your hand?
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kevin. Mr. Wilson, thank you. Thank you very much. Dave, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, now we're still not through here. So now we get to our service awards. We have, I'm sorry you have to follow this, Leanne. This is Leanne Brockman, 5 years. Hannah, you going to come up here with Leanne? Leanne, you remember seeing Ridge Roberts at the church?
Absolutely do remember.
He was amazing then too, wasn't he?
We enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It's just for me. You're gonna shake my hand. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Okay, next we have Terry DeVoe
Yes, sir. She'll be honored in November.
in November, okay. And third is Michelle Fire.
She has declined this morning,
Oh.
so maybe in November I'll ask her.
Okay, well, I'll take her 5-year pin. How about number 4, Victor Zambora? There. Hey, we all seen Victor around here. Everybody knows who Victor is. Up here, Leland is going to give him this. Leland is the facilities maintenance guy. Congratulations, Victor, 5 years. Hey. Thank you, Leland. Leland does a great job, too, as our facilities director. I can't believe this next person up here. This is Vivian Sturdivant, 35 years. 35 years. Vivian, is there anything you haven't seen in Hood County?
Probably not much.
She's up here with Ryan Sinclair, and Brandy Smith is going to take the photograph. God, congratulations on that. You want to say a few words about Vivian?
I do,
Ryan?
yes. Vivian has worked for the last 3 district attorneys. She started when she was 1 year old. And she is one of those employees that is the glue that keeps the office running. Another one is Brandy in the back, but Vivian, although she's not in the courtroom, none of the work that gets done in the courtroom, violent people, dangerous people in prison, could be done without the work that Vivian does. She keeps me going in the right direction. She kept the past 2 DAs going in the right direction. And none of the work that is done in the courtroom could be done without people like Vivian. It's an honor.
Good. Okay.
I'm hearing that it's hard to hear you.
Okay. All right. Okay, now we come to the portion of the Commissioners Court where we have open mic. But to speak at open mic, you must fill out a public participation form. And then if you want to speak on any type of an agenda item, you have to fill out a public participation form and have it completed, hand it to the sheriff. The sheriff will give it to Christine, who's a county clerk, and will get you in line for you to speak when that item is called. So on the citizens at large, the first speaker is Brad Yarborough.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners, Dave, for allowing me this time to come speak to you. Last Commissioners Court, as many Commissioners Court, Dave Eagle said, it's okay to disagree. That's true, it is, except for when you disagree with Dave. The second you do, and many of us has experienced this, he goes online and starts attacking us. His famous things, he calls me as Democrat, which the state of Texas recognizes me as a hard Republican. You cannot refute that. He calls me a liberal, and then he calls me, what was that last one? Oh, unemployed, unemployable. Now, my boss saw that, and it kind of made her mad, and she said, hey, Dave, he's actually employed and doing an excellent job for my company. And yet he goes on there and starts attacking her because, one, he can't control her, he can't control me, so he keeps attacking. So let's go back a month ago when we had a special called meeting, and Dave Eagle, after that meeting, threatened me personally, and he did it in front of Christine Ledwidge, he did it in front of Jeff Kelly, and he did it in front of Tina Brown. Now he's taken that bullying tactics to Facebook, and then to go even lower, this guy's showing up at my house taking pictures. I know this because I followed you to HEB When we got there, I stopped and said, hey, why are you in my neighborhood? Why are you taking pictures of my house? His exact quote was, I can do whatever the F I want to do. Which is pretty much true, because the DA won't do his damn job and arrest this guy because he doesn't live in his precinct. You don't live there. You're breaking the law. You don't think the laws apply to you. And in the last Commissioner's Court when I talked, and Judge, you need to remind him of this, as I'm doing, after I talk, you're not allowed to respond to me. But yet you go in there and say, well, this alleged precinct chair, which I am, sir, there's no alleged to it. I am a precinct chair of 409. They voted me in with 58% of the votes. I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican all my life, and what I said was true. When I walked around the community, the number one question I got asked is if I supported you, and the minute I told them no, I had their vote. They're tired of you. They're tired of you lying all the time. You're tired of your bullying tactics on Facebook, and you want to be a judge. You think any judge is out there bullying people on Facebook? Holy cow, you can't even tell the truth to save your life up here as a commissioner. How are you going to be as a judge?
Mr. Yarborough, this is supposed to be about
because, you know,
business.
when he was
Let's
at my
talk
house
about
taking
county
pictures, he was
business
doing it
and
on
not make
county time.
personal
County
attacks.
time, sir.
24
Do we
hours
pay
a
you
day
guys
is
to
his
follow
county
people around,
time.
take pictures? No. We pay you to run the county. We don't pay you to bully people. We don't pay you to follow people.
Point of order, you're out of line with the court
It's
rules.
fine. We know
Well,
he
we can
controls YouTube.
criticize public officials up here as long as, okay. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep on, because we're documenting everything. When you run for judge and we show everybody all this, they already don't like you in 409. Thank you.
So I've got something to say.
No, you cannot say anything. Judge, remind
Mr.
him.
Yarborough,
This
you're
is
out of
open
line.
mic.
You're out of order.
Point of order.
Hold it. This is public participation forum, and no commissioner is allowed to make any remark in this public forum. So you're not to make any statement at all, Mr. Commissioner Eagle.
I'm going to read.
No, you're not.
I'm going to read the rules of decorum.
We all know them. You've read them 3 times. You
It is
cannot
not
make
the
a
intention
This
of the
is-
Hood County
you are not
Commissioners
go-
Court
I'll call a
to
point of
provide
order
a
here,
public
Sheriff.
forum for the demeaning of any individual. Neither is it the intention of the court to allow a member or members of the public to insult the honesty and integrity of this court as a body, or any member or members of the court individually or collectively. These rules do not prohibit public criticism. That's okay. But including a criticism of any act, omission, policy, or procedure. Now, I can reply to the facts.
No, you can't reply. You can't reply. That's the rules. You don't reply in the public participation forum. That's the rule.
I can reply to.
Brett Deason.
What does he have to do with this?
He's the next speaker.
So I just got shut down
You
to
cannot
be able to reply
That's
to
the rules.
facts by our dictator judge.
Go ahead, Mr. Deason.
Judge, Commissioner Court, thanks for allowing me to speak. I run a small business here in town. I'm a taxpayer here in town, and this time of day is not very convenient.
You're going to have to speak up. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll try to hit the mic. This time of day is not very convenient for me to show up and speak at the Commissioner's Court, so I do get to watch. The reason I'm here is actually pretty sad. It's a follow-up to Mr. Yarborough. I was actually on the phone that day in conversation when Mr. Eagle showed up at his house. And the exchange I heard after that was a disgrace. It was a disgrace to this court. It's ought to concern every citizen in this county. We were just having a general conversation. He goes, why is Dave Eagle here at my house taking photos? And I knew about the complaint that he filed against Mr. Eagle a few weeks ago. This is nothing but political intimidation is all it is. It was 3:30 on a Thursday afternoon. Taxpayers deserve better. You know, I read that a politician drunk on power is one of the biggest threats to citizenry. And this is exactly an example of that. The fact that I have to show up here and speak about this, and his words, and I'll paraphrase, I can do any effing thing I want to do, and there's not an effing thing you can do about it. That was the words of your county commissioner in Precinct 4. I hope that this county will wake up and see the political theater that goes on in this deal between him and you. I am fed up as a taxpayer dealing with this. You should resign, Mr. Eagle. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Tina Brown.
Good morning, everyone. Is that working? Okay. I'm very concerned about your decision not to reappoint Dr. Blocker because he followed the mandates in a very scary time in our history. Was that the reason? I'm not sure. I want to point out that this court approved him 2 years ago. So what's changed? Is it an election year? I don't know. I have to wonder. Public Health Authority does more than just COVID, and now we are sharing one authority with 48 other counties. That is not good for Hood County, so I'm not sure why this was done. I'd also like to ask the court why something this important to the citizens of Hood County wasn't placed on the miscellaneous parts of the agenda for discussion. I think it should have been. I'd also like to thank Kevin for putting your name on that letter to the editor about the jail. It's not often we see people stand up for what's good in Hood County. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Harold Granick.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I've missed the last 2 meetings. I had looked at the agenda and felt, gee, I couldn't tolerate that. But now I come to this meeting and I see Commissioner Eagle violating the rules that none of the commissioners or the judge can respond to the open mic comments, and he feels he doesn't have to follow those rules once again. But now what I want to talk about is the not renewing the contract of Dr. Blocker. I remember when COVID first came and Commissioner Eagle and I had a discussion. There were only 35 cases. Why were all these restrictions? He was not an expert. Commissioner Eagle claimed he was not an expert in mathematics, and I pointed out that that was my minor at MIT. It turns out we were in an area of a new disease that we didn't know. It was evolved into a pandemic, and Dr. Blocker followed the best science that we had at that time. We don't know how many, being overcautious, how many lives we saved, how many people we saved from doing it. Certainly there were inconveniences, but not renewing Dr. Blocker's appointment because he used good science. I get tired of this ideology because it restricts freedom, you know, and I look at other things. Just yesterday, I saw in the news that the increase of measles is going up and the death of measles. We thought we had, in the United States, resolved that, but some people are anti-vax because of a report out of Britain from a doctor whose report turned out to be fraudulent and it had to be withdrawn, and he lost his medical license. But ideology was more important, and so people don't do their vaccines based on bad science. And I wonder how a parent feels if their child gets measles and dies from it because of bad science, and the measles vaccine doesn't cause autism, but it's a flag that you can carry because I showed that I was not restricted, you know, by someone telling me what to do. Also wonder if one of their neighbors who may be immunocompromised and dies from it, if they care about that. You know, the same issue is our freedoms are restricted when we have to wear seatbelts, but the studies show that it reduces injuries, it reduces deaths, it reduces costs to the public. And I might point out with respect to the vaccines that some people were so against. Several Nobel Prizes have been given with respect to the mRNA from which those most current vaccines have come. So I hope that the decisions of this committee will not be made on blind ideology, but on science. Sometimes science is wrong, but it's certainly better than just blindly saying, this is always the way we're going to do it because someone else once said, that's the way we have to do it. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is James Wall.
I'm going to go ahead and yield my time back to the court.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes the citizens' comments at large, and we're now going into the miscellaneous business to be discussed, consider for approval. The first item on the agenda is consider and take appropriate action to award RFP 2024-05 independent audit services or request interviews. Mr. Glenn Tillman.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. The request for proposals for independent audit services opened on August 19th and closed September 18th at 10 a.m. There were 2 qualified responses that were examined for completeness and scored for pricing, qualifications, methodology, and references. Through this process, Patillo, Brown, and Hill was determined to be the best value to the county, so the audit and purchasing departments recommend awarding the contract to Patillo, Brown, and Hill.
Okay. Was it only the 2 bids that came in?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody have anything else to say, or do I hear a motion?
A motion to award RFP 2024-05 independent audit services to Patillo, Brown, and Hill, LLP.
Second.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to award RFP 2024-05 independent audit services to Patillo, Brown, and Hill, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 2, review and discuss draft salvage and junkyard order. Take appropriate action to set a date for a public hearing.
Judge, you may remember a few courts ago, we had some citizens bring pictures of a situation where there was junk piled up in front of their yard, in their neighbor's yard. And since then, I've been working with Mr. Head and Ms. Stacks and our county attorney to see if there's anything that we could do to help prevent situations like this. And at this time, I'd really like for Matt Mills, our county attorney, and Clint or Jeannie to come up and discuss that. I don't expect there to be any action today. I just wanted to present this since that situation caused a lot of angst in the court, I think.
Okay. Well, we had a call just among the 4 of us or 5 of us yesterday, and one of the questions that was brought up is, does this do anything beyond what we already have the ability to do, and does it need to do anything beyond what we already have the ability to do? And I'll just read what we discussed from the Health and Safety Code. This is from 343.011, definition of public nuisance, which is already in state law, and we've already enforced this on other properties. It says a nuisance is, in one of the definitions, there's many of them, keeping, storing, or accumulating rubbish, including newspapers, abandoned vehicles, refrigerators, stoves, furniture, tires, and cans on premises in a neighborhood or within 300 feet of a public street for 10 days or more, unless the rubbish or object is completely enclosed in a building or is not visible from a public street. So the property that we discussed specifically with tons of junk cars on it, arguably is already covered under this public nuisance abandoned vehicle. I don't think we've sought an injunction specifically on that, to my recollection. We've done these other things like rubbish and septic system problems and so on. So what we talked about, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe pursue, if there's a blighted area like this, pursue what we already have and see if this works essentially in court without putting in a new set of regulations. And if it doesn't, then we can come back and revisit. But we also talked about, you know, taking the temperature of the rest of the Commissioners Court and kind of see what everybody else wants to do. But that's my recollection of the meeting yesterday.
343 dot what?
It's 343.011 of the Health and Safety Code is a definition of a public nuisance. And other parts of 343 reference penalties and injunctions and so on that the county can seek, which we've done that before.
Several years ago, Commissioner Andrews had asked me to look into if we could pass a slaughterhouse order. While doing the research and discovering that we didn't have the population for that, I come across this, and after complaint after complaint after complaint on this one property, and I'm a private property rights person, but if I had this next door to me, I wouldn't like it either. So when I seen that we had the ability to do this, I started drafting it. Well, it kind of set stale until Commissioner Samuelson asked me about it 2 months ago, and I told her it was a really rough draft, that I'd finish it and get it to the county attorney to look at, and that's where we've been.
On the criminal penalties of the 343 that County Attorney Mills was talking about, it gives us the opportunity. The court shall order an abatement, which means we can get it cleaned up by the people. If they choose not to, the first fine is $200, subsequent or $1,000. That can be for each day it's in violation. They can also receive 6 months in jail for each violation. So in this, we have the teeth to do what we want. It also addresses flea markets, outdoor sales, et cetera, in this health and safety code. It's just the county has never used that to our ability. A lot of it's because of lack of staff or whatever, but we do have the power to do it under the state health and safety code. Instead of adopting an automotive wrecking and salvage yard, junkyard, flea market, and outdoor resale business order, that can all be addressed for the most part with 343.
I will say that they're right. If you adopt this order, I mean, it's for everybody and it's forever. It's easy to adopt the order. It's not too easy to undo it. So if that will work, then I'd say that's better, because this is going to require several staff members it'll be an undertaking.
What you're really saying, Mr. Mills, is that we're probably better off with what we do have. It's broader and covers more than just, because the nuisance can cover old refrigerators, stoves, rubbish, trash, and everything, in addition to just old cars. You and I talked about this, remember, a couple of years ago. People are not going to show up if they let their own yard get to that state. They're not going to show up and answer any summons. And then if you go on their property with the wreck or whatever and start picking that property and take it off, I, as an attorney, was concerned about the liability for the county. Some of these people, that old adage about one man's treasure is another man's junk, certainly applies to this. Some of these old people will just think that that old car out there, that old washing machine or something may come in handy for parts or whatever, and they want it. And so, in addition to what you were talking about with staff, to write this, the violations, the affidavits, to go to court, to do all the things that are necessary to implement these things, I think that we have a better chance of enforcing what's already on the books, don't you? I mean, that's what Alan's Quine's opinion when you ask him to look at it.
Right. We're just going to have to test it out, because one of the things is, what's the definition of an abandoned vehicle? And there are a couple of other sections of Texas law that define it, and they define it differently depending on what section you're in. One is in the Occupations Code, one is in the Transportation Code. So there's some arguments about, okay, well, this is not a true abandoned vehicle, but we'll hash that out in court. I think we can pursue a case like that and just see what the judge does and see what happens in court. And if we need more teeth, maybe we can come back later. But there may also be other violations besides just the junk vehicles on these properties as well.
After we discussed it a little bit more, it seemed like we already have the method to work through this. You're going to test it out in court, and that there's really not a need to create another order or more processes, more fines, more.
I'm sorry. I would just say, yeah, let's pursue this and see where it goes. And if this gets to the ends that we need here, then we can hold off. And if it doesn't, then we'll come back, is what I'm thinking.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Pull it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The item number 2 is pulled. We're going into item number 3. Consider and take appropriate action to authorize the county judge to sign the 2025 Hood County Resolution for the Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program. This is something that, I guess it's really dealing with Judge Bufkin's orders. Am I right on that, Margaret? And he takes care of that. It's something that's done and has been done the whole 6 years that I've been here. So that's just something that's done every year for the Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program. So do I hear a motion to?
I move that we authorize the county judge to sign the 2025 Hood County Resolution for the Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program.
Second. A motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to authorize the county judge to sign the 2025 Hood County Resolution for the Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4, discuss and take appropriate action to allow the use of the courtroom in the historical courthouse for an area-wide hymn singing event on Saturday, December the 14th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. I think they've discussed that with you, haven't they, Sheriff?
Yes.
Are you going to have a deputy there to?
We'll have security there.
You will have security there?
Yes.
So if you're having security there, I think everything will. I don't think anybody can be against them. I guess, Mr. Harrell, you're not against singing any hymns at the courthouse, are you? All right. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow the use of the courtroom in the historical courthouse for an area-wide hymn singing event on Saturday, December 14th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Second.
A motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to allow the use of the courtroom in the historical courthouse for an area-wide hymn sing event on Saturday, December 14, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item number 5, provide an update on the, well, let me say this. This is number 5 is moot. Well, let me finish. Jim Law delivered a check
Jeff.
to me yesterday for $294,429 for the excess funds that we've been talking about in this courtroom for the last 3 or 4 meetings here. And I delivered it to both the auditor and to the treasurer. and we had discussed it. We have received another check that was much larger than this for funds that were excess funds for the 5 previous years, and it was deposited in Fund 104, am I right? So that check should be deposited there, and so I think that's being taken care of. I think
Right,
5 is moot.
Well, I put it on the agenda to give an update that there was a board meeting by HCAT on October the 16th, and they did vote to return the funds to all of the taxing entities, and the amount that the judge mentioned was the total amount that was returned to all of the taxing entities. The part that went to Hood County was actually $69,773. The GISD, as you all know, GISD is the bulk of where your taxes go, and GISD was returned $187,000. So it was very timely. I had it on the agenda to give an update. The check came yesterday, so I was able to provide the update that we did receive $69,773. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item number 6, but yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay. All right.
I just want to find out what that money is going to be used for.
Well, that hadn't been decided. We got another check in there.
I know, we've been sitting on that one check for 500 and something, and now we have another almost 300,000. It's like, what are we doing with it?
69,000. He was,
two?
no, that's the total amount.
Oh,
that
so
the
it's
county-
only 69,000.
No,
That should have
Well,
been on the,
it's,
it should have
it hadn't
said
been,
69,000, didn't
it hadn't been decided yet. There's plenty of uses for it. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I know. I just wondered what this court thinks. And Fund 104 is a brand-new fund just for this
I think the
money.
sheriff is back there. He's saying he needs some new automobiles. I know, we could use some of that. So, I don't know, but it's in a fund. That's what we did. We had to get the money first. So we just got the money, and we will be deciding that in future commissioners' courts.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6 has been pulled, so we're now bid. So
Gonna
there
wait.
was a couple of speakers that were going to speak on that, but Commissioner Samuelson has pulled item number 6.
You want to wait on 7? Because it's going to an executive.
Number 7 is the executive session. We're going to do like I did the last time. We're going to take that at the end so that we're going to finish everything here so y'all can go and when we go into executive session. So we're now going into item number 8. Consider and take appropriate action to approve and sign the interlocal agreement with Pecan Plantation Volunteer Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services, Inc. to take effect October the 22nd, 2024. Jeff Young.
Did you have any speakers on that one?
We do not. No speaker. Just you.
Judge, Commissioners, so we had some things that we were working through with Pecan. I believe all of those have been resolved. So I'm bringing forth their interlocal agreement so that we can ensure that we have fire protection for Pecan Plantation and the residents that they serve.
So you read the resolution, you're satisfied with it? The only
Yes, sir.
thing that the county really has with this is to make sure that the $150,000 that the county gives to Pecan Fire Department is 125?
120.
125 is used for fire. That's our involvement in
Correct.
this, right? And so you're satisfied that that has been addressed and taken care of?
Yes, sir. And they did send me a signed policy that ensures that the fire chief will have access to those funds, and he will be a signator on it, and that second signature will not be unreasonably withheld. So they've met kind of what we've asked them to do. I'm satisfied with that, so I'd like to go ahead and move forward.
Okay, so you're recommending that we go ahead and sign?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything else to say? If not, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve and sign the interlocal agreement with Pecan Plantation Volunteer Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services, Inc. to take effect October 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve and sign the interlocal agreement with the Pecan Plantation Volunteer Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services to take effect October the 22nd, 2024, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimous. All right, thank you, sir. Okay. All right, item number 9, discuss ongoing operation costs associated with the jail expansion. Costs include, but not limited to, additional staff and training, additional equipment, washers, dryers, security, computers, cost of utilities, groceries, medical expenses, estimated duration of out-of-county housing needed while walls are compromised during construction of expansion, estimated timeline and offset out-of-county housing and transport. Sheriff Deeds.
Brought some pictures. Not sure, we put a bunch of information together. The cost on, it's 192 bed now, and the operating costs are pretty much a double on everything. As far as the food, be at least double. Figure we're going to need 16 new jailers plus 2 booking clerks, but the corporals, the sergeants, everybody else will stay the same. Just the workers, one jailer per 48 inmates. So the auditor, the sheet that's up on the board was put together by the auditor on what the cost would be. So the total, once it's built, estimate the $7,868,953.28, and the addition is the $1,850,621.28. Figuring in the extra cover all bedding, non-groceries, groceries. Everything's going to go up a little bit because of doubling the amount in the inmates in the jail. Up in the corner, that was I was wondering who had control of that. Yeah. So this is daily average of inmates. The average is 59, and then 37 in January, 55 in February, so on and so forth. So that number will probably go up. We've had some days when it's gone down, but so figuring all of that in, it's probably going to be about a wash with when we get it finished, then we'll be able, the out-of-county inmates will go away, the cost on that. But until then, we'll have the extra out-of-county inmates, and then after that, we'll be able to make money. I don't know the time frame for getting this done. I asked what that would be like, and it sounds like it'd be a 2.5 year project. So by the time we get there, I don't know what the amount of inmates we'll have in our jail for ours, probably estimate around 300. And the way she had this figured out, 110 extra beds at $85 a day, so we could bring in up to $3 million, almost $3.5 million. The estimated cost on the computer and infrastructure, I think Drew threw that out there. I don't know that it's going to cost that much, but I guess because he has not looked at that, I don't think until we get the plans really drawn up, I don't think anybody can really say exactly what that is. Washers and dryers, we have 3 now, so pretty much double. So take 6 washers, 6 dryers. So that's the cost for 3 is $62,298. Add on be 6 months for design, building 12 to 14 months for new construction, 8 months on remodel, and 28 months total to get it done. Then once that out-of-county inmate goes away, then it'll basically be about the same cost that we've got nowadays. For $6 million for the jail budget, and so when it's all finished, take that cost away of the out-of-county inmates, and that's going to probably go up from that 1.6 million. It's going to end up being just a little more expensive to operate than it is now.
Sheriff, could you repeat that timeline again?
This was from the architects. I said, give me some kind of a estimation. So add-on would take 6 months for design and bidding, and then 12 to 14 months for new construction, 8 months on remodel, so a total of 28 months is what they estimate.
Thank you.
Will be up and running and going. On that, down on the very bottom, she put in cannot house federal inmates without or while in debt. You can charge a lot more for them, but I think they bring a whole lot more problems, things that you got to do for the feds to get that done. So I'll just be happy when we can get everybody in under one roof, not even thinking about federal inmates. So I don't know what other questions you might have. This, Drew, did you get that loaded in there where you can put the big picture up there? Or, huh? I guess not too many people can see this at this point. Everything in yellow is what would be added on. So down here at the bottom is for the Sally Port to enlarge that, to take in more inmates, more prisoners daily, and then the extra beds up on top, 209 extra beds. So hopefully you can get that up there. I don't know. There you go. So it's 209 beds total, adding on, and then we're going to enlarge the new laundry and SAG rooms, going to 4 extra rubber rooms or violent cells. So if we get this done, this ought to last us for longer than any of us will be around. Well, maybe the youngster on the end will be around. What other questions do you maybe really have? Commissioner Samuelson, you had come up with some different things. It's definitely going to cost, I don't know what the electric would cost and the water would cost. I'm sure that's going to, take more and more flushing toilets, and so there's no way to get around that it's going to go up in cost. But I think it'll balance out with taking away the out-of-county inmates. I mean, it won't be much different than what the budget is this year, except for the cost of getting her done.
We have looked over this. We've discussed options. This is a multivariable equation, and trying to come in at the right point, we are at the mercy of other counties housing our inmates at this moment. I've joked around with Erath County and Joe Brown over there and said, hey, can you build a bigger jail over there so we can send more to you? But it costs money to keep these people off the street. It does. There's no splitting hairs about that. Is there some chance that we could use those cells for federal inmates in the future and bring in a few more dollars than we're putting into it? I think that is a possibility. But one of the things that that's important here is the efficiencies of the way that they've designed this thing. One of the things that they've talked about, you have to have a jailer for every 48 inmates.
Correct.
And the way that this is designed, well, part of it is you have trouble finding 24 people that can go into one cell and not want to fight all the time. I'm sure that that's a, that's a difficult issue. It requires more manpower. So getting some of these smaller cells to where, and having a ready team to get into there to make an intervention if something does go wrong into some of these smaller cells is an easier thing to do. So there's a lot of increased efficiency, so your labor actually goes down per inmate with some of the better design, with some of the new and improved design that's going on there. There's always a balance. And right now, whenever you consider the cost of the mortgage and everything that it would take to build this building, to pass the bond, it's a little bit cheaper to keep them out of county right now. There's no doubt to that. But I believe that we're at a tipping point right now. We've done our homework. We've got a good plan here. We're at a tipping point here where we can set our own path in the future to be able to take care of this without the reliance or the sudden drop of a county saying, hey, you got to come pick your inmates up, and now where do you go to transport them, and at what cost is it going to cost every day? I think that that this iteration is very reasonable. I think that it gets us where we need to be. As everybody knows, I've been kind of an opponent of where we've been, and we've crossed those bridges. I am no longer an opponent of where we are with this.
Here. I was just going to say thank you for your work on this, and we need to just kind of move to the next agenda.
One of the good things about this new design is some of the cell bays can be either used for male or female. And, part of the issues we've got right now is the number of female inmates have gone up dramatically in the last year and a half. And, that's the bulk of what's being housed out of county on a lot of days. So, this gives us, some flexibility, gives, the Sheriff's Department some flexibility in being able to maneuver, certain cell blocks, based on what the needs are by gender. That's, the way they've got it designed is, worked that way.
Yeah, this is a very good idea. Where that arrow is there on that big screen, that one box that's extended out there, it's not yellow because that's just, could be an additional area. We could come around that end, so that's not included in the plan. That could be included in the plan, but just what's in yellow.
Thank you for bringing up the, doing this work and getting the costs in front of us and the trade-offs, and I think we should go to the next agenda item if.
Well, wait a minute. I want to clear something up. So could you elaborate on the debt statement that was on the former slide about that the feds could not bring a prisoner in here as long as we got debt? Does that mean the bond, if this bond passes, for instance, that's a debt? Do you understand that to mean that as long as that bond debt is out there, that we wouldn't be able to house any Fed overflow anyway, right?
That's the way I understand it. But we could still take in inmates from other counties.
But it's not but I'm just trying to get cleared up on this debt issue because I haven't seen that before. That would just be for the facility itself, not the county, right? In other words, if the county's got debt in other areas, the feds wouldn't consider that, or would they?
No.
Just the debt on the facility?
Just the debt on the facility.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
But the way the state is growing with the inmates, like that number that the auditor had up there, it could be possible that, yeah, we could make up to a $3.5 million return on the extra space that we might have But by then, things are going to come up with what we have. Now, actually, the way the jail cost per day is figured out, you take the bed space, divide it by 365 in the year, days in the year, and comes up with that number. And so like ours right now is because of the transport, or not the transport, the out-of-county inmates fees, and that's 85, 88, I believe, off the top of my head, is what it is today, right now, with this new budget. And actually with this, even if it's full or not full, the cost on it, with everybody figured in, the 60 new jailers and all that stuff, it'll be less per day than it is now, just because we have more beds to spread it upon. And then we can charge pretty much whatever we want. That's what we found out with other counties. They know that, $75 to $85 a day, even on the small counties like Bosque, they can get away with that. And that jail is only about a 60-bed jail anyway. So we'd be able to make a lot of money off of it if we have the space to do that without even worrying about the federal inmates.
Another thing, back to, the build time, 24 to 30 months, somewhere in that window to build the 209-bed facility, and then to start, move all of the prisoners out of that facility into the new facility, out of the current facility, then 192, and then refurb it. So even if it passes and we start work, we're still 4.5, 5 years before we have any true additional bed space. So that means for the next 4.5, 5 year time frame, we're going to be sending prisoners out of county.
Well, they did think that 28 months it would be done, even with the remodel and the old stuff.
Including that?
Yeah.
That's an update that I was not aware of. But
yeah, that's what he said. So hopefully in 28 to 30 months we'll be done and be able to use it all. And that was just an estimate from.
Because the last time we had the meeting, that was the way it was presented. So but no, if we can, do it in 30 months, the total job, then, that's great.
But until we get that fully open, then like the budget this time, that part of the budget is 1.6 million. And that's not even including the transport, what it costs for the transport officers and the vehicles and to get them there. It might be, $2.25 million, $2.5 million a year for all the transport and the out-of-county housing. So we got that until it's done.
And I know that our auditor and the sheriff have worked very closely on getting these numbers together. And I know it was a short time to get it together, and thank you very much. I think this is important information.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it. Gives us to item number 10, receive update on the solution to referring funds to Hood County from Tyler Technology. For 1, discontinuing the implementation of executive time, 2, overpayments, 3, other credits. Take action if necessary to receive funds in a specific account recommended by the county auditor or process invoices against the credit balance. Approve county judge to sign the Tyler Amendment removing time clock interface. As I understand it, the final number has not been arrived at yet.
Not yet. I know this is a long process, but it is worth sticking to it to return the funds to the taxpayers. We're very close to resolution, and the next step is to execute amendments to the Tyler agreements to discontinue the software we no longer use. One of the 2 amendments we have today, so bear with me a few more courts to get these funds returned to the county. Between the credits for overpayments and the credit for discontinuing executive time, we're talking between $75,000 and $100,000. So you can see why I won't give up. So with that, make the motion to approve the county judge to sign the Tyler Amendment removing the time clock interface software.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson for the county judge to approve and sign the Tyler Amendment removing the time clock interface, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. This brings us to item number 11. Discuss and consider removing the biweekly salary from the Commissioners Court personnel changes, new hires, and terminations, and only showing annual salary. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Melissa Welborn.
Yes. Everyone should have received an example in an email that shows you what I would like to go to, just showing the annual salary. The past 2 budget years, we've had trouble with rounding, which throws the treasurer's office off a little bit. And so we're wanting to just go with the annual salary. That's what you approved during the budget. And then let Tyler Technologies take care of the biweekly and hourly rate once the annual amount is put in Tyler.
Okay. Sounds reasonable. Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to remove the biweekly salary from the Commissioners Court personnel changes, new hires, and terminations, and only show annual salary.
Second. Yeah, a motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to remove the biweekly salary from the Commissioners Court personnel changes, new hires, and terminations, and only showing the annual salary, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Welborn. Item number 12, discuss and take appropriate action to reconsider the MVCPA resolution regarding the Senate Bill 224 Catalytic Converter Grant Program application as worded on the October 8, 2024 Commissioners Court agenda, and discuss Senate Bill 2024, the Flock Safety Surveillance Company, Mass Public Surveillance, the actual cost of implementing such a program, and any all implications of implementing such a mass surveillance program in Hood County, including potential constitutional issues and civil liberties issues. And we've got a number of speakers. Well, okay. So we got Mr. Greg Harrell is signed up to be speaker number 1 on this issue. Mr. Harrell?
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Before I get started on addressing this particular issue, I just wanted to give all of you an update and some good news. Yesterday was the beginning of early voting. In excess of 3,000 voters voted during the 9-hour period that was available to them. Record-setting pace, 335 voters per hour, 5.5 voters per minute. So I want to extend congratulations to all the voters here in Hood County, and also our elections administrator, her small staff, and all of the election workers that are taking taking part in this election. It's really good news. So, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I hope everybody heard that. Good news. I was not available when this agenda item came up last Commissioners Court meeting simply because I was in a dental chair, and in comparison to being in a dental chair or being here, I'd much rather be here speaking to you about this issue. So thank you for allowing me to talk about this. My concern about the deployment of any flock cameras really is based on both practical and principle. We have had a number of items presented before this court talking about the deployment of flock cameras, and on the surface it seems good. All of us in this room are all about safety, security, law and order, for sure, we are. But we have to be concerned about the practical and the principles when we talk about the deployment of flock cameras. Number one, in terms of practical, is, okay, who owns that data? Number two, where is the data stored and who has access to that data? These are concerns that ought to really be in the forefront of each and every citizen, especially here in free Hood County, in free Texas. So I'm very concerned about that just from a practical perspective. And then the principal perspective, really, we have to be concerned about this as an issue of the invasion of our individual liberties, our privacy. In the earlier 20th century, there was a Supreme Court justice named Louis Brandeis. Louis Brandeis was quoted as saying, "Experience teaches us to be most on our guard to protect liberty when the government purposes are beneficent." So on the surface, it seems like these are good things that we are doing, but they do lead to something that could be really very badly abused, and we have to be concerned about that. One of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, and I'll just paraphrase him, but Benjamin Franklin, in a paraphrase, said that the person who is willing to trade liberty for safety will surely end up with neither. And so when we talk about the flock cameras, we talk about the issue of deploying at large this type of surveillance against the public. I think we need to stop, take a deep breath, and really consider what we're doing here long run. Thank you.
Speaker is Brad Yarborough.
Judge, I'd kind of like to hear the discussion before I talk. Y'all haven't discussed this?
Well, what are you saying? That you want to
I would like to hear
speak
what y'all
after
have to say
what we
before I
say?
speak.
Yeah, you can do that. That's no set deal. Okay. Anybody want to speak on this? Who put this? Commissioner Eagle. This is your.
So you've already called the speakers and you got somebody out here running the show, but that's all right. The reason that I put this
He's
back
not
on.
running the show, Commissioner Eagle. I'm sorry.
The reason that I put
sidebar
this.
comments, and I'm sick of it.
Well,
You're out of order.
Me too from you, Judge.
You're out of order.
So, yes, you are too. So, I put this back on the agenda, and there's three issues that, first of all, the first agenda item reads thusly, says discuss and take appropriate action to allow the judge to sign MVCPA resolution, which is a requirement for the SB 224 catalytic converter program. Well, okay. That really didn't tell me exactly what was going on. It didn't talk about the cost. It didn't talk about what it involved. It didn't talk about surveillance cameras. There's nowhere in there it says anything about flock. There's nowhere anywhere in there it says anything about the cost. And so I was concerned, so I didn't really pay that much attention to that agenda item until it came to the podium. I looked at it and thought, okay, catalytic converter program. I actually went to Houston 2 years ago and had my catalytic converter stolen, so I get it. And I think they can, and I kind of studied it then, and I think they can get a catalytic converter out of from under your vehicle like that and be gone. Anyway, when we got to the agenda item, it became a lot more than what the agenda item said. So I had some issues with transparency. And I'm not blaming anybody for anything. I'm just saying that agenda item, if you look at the notice requirement under the Public Information Act on a meeting, there's a public information handbook that the Attorney General puts out. It says a government body shall give written notice the date, hour, place, and subject of each meeting held by the government body. That's under Texas Government Code 551-041. And it says the notice must be as sufficient to apprise the people of the subjects going to be covered. And that's from a case, City of San Antonio. So I felt like this vote, it's already been voted on. And, but I felt like this needed to be a subject of discussion because most people that would read the agenda item the way it was written wouldn't know exactly what it was about. And the reason I feel like the notice was inadequate is because there's a whole lot of controversy out there about these flock camera systems. A lot of controversy. And I felt like that this needed to be a discussion where if somebody wanted to come up and discuss it or voice their opinions, just like the last speaker, I think we should be afforded to listen to that. And so I felt like there was a transparency issue on the way the agenda item was worded. And again, no dispersion against the way the agenda item got put on there. It just didn't give, to me, didn't give adequate notice. The other part, because it says catalytic converters. Well, since I received, well, I'll get to that in a minute. The second one was procedure on what do we do, what is our procedure for going out there and going after a particular grant. You know, do we go after all of them? Do we go after, which ones do we go after? So I think we need to have a discussion, not today, about a procedure to be put in place as to what grants we go after and what grants we at least discuss. If this had been brought to my attention before the last agenda item, I would have at least wanted to have a discussion about it. So I'm going to get to the substance of the flock cameras. So the way that agenda item read, and we had a resolution in there that we passed about SB 224 catalytic converter grant program. There's nothing in here about flock cameras. And if you go read Senate Bill 224, it's a very extensive, long-winded bill. It's going to require some study. It's not a, it's a very complex bill. And there's one sentence in there about potentially surveillance cameras. There's a lot of other things for the law enforcement to consider. But the flock can't, so let me get to the substance on what my concern is. The issue is always, do we have a reasonable expectation of privacy when you're being viewed? And one argument would say if you're driving down the street and there's cameras on the street, you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And that argument, I think, flew more before the surveillance state that we've got. There's a case that came out in 2012, United States v. Jones. And that case involved FBI agents. They had a suspect on a drug case, and they took and got permission from the court to put a GPS device on that person's vehicle for 30 days. And what it did is that device sent signals back to the location constantly of that vehicle for every 10 seconds for 30 days. And it ended up with 2,000 more plus pages of data documentation at the end of the time. Well, they used that documentation and that data that they got off that surveillance and convicted this guy and then arrested some other people. Well, they got some bad guys off the street. You know, I get that, right? They got bad guys off the street. But they took them to trial. So the question is, was that constitutional? And it goes, they convict these guys, it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And Justice Scalia, my favorite justice, one of them, between him and Clarence Thomas, he ruled that it was an unreasonable search and seizure. It was he ruled it was a general warrant. And a general warrant is not legal. You can't just say, let me go look at everything you got and see if I can find something wrong with what you've done. So I think, and I've reached out, by the way, to a writer who's with the American Civil Liberties Union who has written several articles on this particular issue. In fact, he's the one that pointed me to this case. And the reason a big reason I put this on is not necessarily to change anything, but to at least put it out there and have the discussion, because I think we need to have this discussion. I think it's a very serious issue, and I think that the citizens out here at least need to understand what we're talking about up here and what these capabilities are. Now, with that said, I've asked for the data. Okay, you said we're having catalytic converter issues here. We must have a crime wave, right? So I reached out for data for the last 3.5 years, since January 1st of 2021. Okay, tell me how many catalytic converter related incidents we've had in Hood County. It must be a scourge, right? Because that's the reason we passed this resolution, catalytic converters theft. Well, in 2024 to date, we've had one incident. One. In 2023, entire 2023, we had 6. In 2022, we had about 18. And in 2021, we had about 22 or 3. Total of 59. We've had 59 occurrences, at least according to what I was given. And it looks to me like you start here at 2021 and it's an upside down pyramid. We're down to 1 this year so far. So we're headed kind of like to 0 for catalytic converter thefts. So I have to question, is that really what we're doing here? So again, I put it back on the agenda just to talk about it, because we really didn't get a chance to talk about it the other day. And I don't know who all the other speakers are. I'm sure there's going to be some come up here and say, oh, Dave Eagle's crazy, Dave Eagle's this, Dave Eagle's that. That's fine. That's part of the price you pay for sitting up here. But I still think that people need to understand what is potential here. I think there will be case law developing out of this particular software. Some people are very concerned about the surveillance state that's developing. Some people aren't. But we shouldn't do anything without having a reasonable, fact-based discussion about it and listening to all viewpoints. And then if the decision is made with both eyes open to go forward with something like this, then that's fine. It's what happens. But I think I owe it to my constituents to put that out there and let that decision be made based on people voicing their opinions. We've already heard one from the Republican county chair, and I certainly share some of his concerns. So I'll start, so that's the reason it's on here, just to have a discussion about it.
Okay, Margaret Campbell and Sean. I'm going to let who he wants, let him get last. No, wait, you want to wait now. We're going to get the speaker. You wait till the end now. Okay. State your name and who you with, so we can.
I'm Margaret Campbell. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for Hood County. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but I would like to address one thing really quickly. The Senate Bill 224 catalytic converter grant is actually for more than just catalytic converter theft, and we covered that last court, but it's for any type of automobile or auto-related theft or crime. So it's actually broader than just catalytic converter theft. You can go into burglaries, possessions that are stolen out of vehicles, things like that. All of that is included in the grant. It's a little bit broader.
Okay. Good. Who do you have with you today?
I have Sean McGuire.
Okay.
He's our ECC. Go ahead.
Is this the Sean McBuyer? I've never seen you in a tie before. This must be important, but you look sharp.
I figured I'd dress up today. So I'm Sean McGuire. I'm the Emergency Communications Manager for Hood County Sheriff's Dispatch Center. So I understand what you're saying, sir. There has to be a discussion. You know, everything that's good can be used for bad. I mean, in law enforcement, we have Spillman, we have this flock, we have a whole bunch of stuff. So my thing is do we put the oversight in place to make sure nobody can use this the wrong way? And I think we have. I think we have put the oversight in place to make sure that nobody using it the wrong way. We have audits that we do. The patrol captains and lieutenants look over everything to make sure we're good to do too. The data is ours. We said that last time. It's retained for 30 days, and then it's gone. What else?
Talk about the transparency portal.
So the transparency portal will be set up today and will be on the Hood County Sheriff's Office the webpage on the Hood County, and it will show how many vehicles have been looked at through the camera, and then it will say how many hit lists that we've had on it. And as we get used to more of the system, as we recover vehicles, we recover items, there's things that we can do within Flock that will show on the transparency page to say, yes, we recovered a vehicle, yes, we recovered a firearm, yes, we got drugs. And this whole reporting process takes it from when dispatch gets the call all the way to the court. What does the court do with it? And that's all the data we have to report for this. And then we get into, well, okay, open records. So TxDOT has cameras out there that you can open records request. When it comes to open records, and this is what we got from the TCIC operations room who worked for DPS, the system has been designated as a CJIS system, and so it's exempt from the Public Information Act. So that is our data at the sheriff's office. Nobody else is going to be entitled to it. So, because I know somebody brought that up, and yes, somebody may be able to open records that request it, but they're only going to get their car. They can't search a blue Ford Explorer like mine that has an MSM on it with a DV tag. They won't get all of that. They're just going to get their vehicle that we have, that they own.
Somebody asks for open records request from a certain point of time.
Nope.
I need to see
Nope.
the camera information from noon to 6 o'clock at this location.
Nope. So the way, when the system is set up, we have to do a control test. So the camera actually goes into what we call OpenFox with TCIC, NCIC. So every photo, it goes through the system because it's looking for stolen vehicles. It's actually looking for criminal justice stuff. So when our deputies go out there and they enter a stolen vehicle, they put that plate into there, or this person has a warrant that goes into there and it looks for that. So that's what it's looking for. That's why everything goes through the camera, through TCIC, NCIC, then back to us.
So I think that's an important distinction, because the cameras that are outside of my building, for instance, someone could do an open records
Yes.
request and ask for noon to 6
Right.
o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah.
Give me that information. And per open records request, we would be required to give
Yes.
that. But in this case, you're saying
Nope.
it's protected because,
Because it goes through TCIC, NCIC, which is CJIS. And we call CJIS a four-letter word for a reason, because it's a pain in the butt, because we're protecting people's data. That is our job. So that's why everything can be used for bad. We have the controls in place to make sure it doesn't happen. And I promise you, we are.
So my response to and I appreciate getting more details. That's why I put it back on here. Because this is a very important discussion to have, and we really didn't get a chance to get into as much as this the other day because I hadn't had a chance to spend as much time looking at it. But one of the questions that comes to mind, this is on a case law basis, and maybe an AG opinion. You said that they've certified that the public cannot get their hands on this data via an open records request. However, has that been tested in court? And here's the reason I ask. Do you have a court case?
So there's an open records decision number 565, July 30th, 1999. So the basis of this case was there was medical...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Whose decision?
It's open records decision 565 of the Attorney General of Texas.
Okay, AG opinion,
Yeah.
okay.
So what happened was this, and I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. The basis was there was some medical information in her CJIS file. They would not release her medical information because it was in CJIS, a CJIS file. They said, hold on, I have it highlighted.
By the way, while you're looking, is CJIS, C-E-G-I-S?
CJIS, Criminal Justice Information System. So they ruled the NCIC is a nationwide computerized information system established as a service for criminal justice agencies, meaning they will not release any information. Information in the TCIC may be shared with jurisdictions outside of Texas through what we call III, which is criminal history, how we get all that stuff. States and local governments will determine the purpose for dissemination of criminal history record information is authorized by state law. So basically they're saying that they ruled that she could get her medical file out of that CJIS stuff, but none of the CJIS information could be released to her.
So can I play devil's advocate a minute?
Yes, sir.
So this is a camera that's, and Mr. Mills might have something to say.
Yeah, we
But
talked to
this is a camera that's mounted on a telephone pole, let's say. And it's just recording everything that's happening. So there's not any investigation happening. It's just recording images as they go by. It seems to me like I think there's an argument could be made that should be public information because it's just recording. It's just recording data as it goes by.
But it's for criminal justice, so it's looking for a crime. It's for law enforcement purposes only. It's not that somebody's going, oh, they're jaywalking. How do I describe this the best?
Yeah, I can speak to it.
Okay.
Yeah, Judge.
State your name.
Yes, sir. Blaine Parsons with Flock Safety. Thank you for having me back again. We also have a representative from Flock, Kristen McLeod, on the line today to help address some questions and talk through concerns or information about Flock Safety. And so,
Slow down. Put your mic closer to your mouth.
yes, sir. Can you hear me better there?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Blaine Parsons with Flock Safety. We also have Kristen McLeod on the line, who you can see now behind you. To speak to the question, the Flock Safety license plate reader images is just taking the image of a back of a vehicle and storing that for law enforcement to be able to use for criminal investigative purposes, or from a patrol perspective, from a proactive perspective, if there is a stolen vehicle or an Amber Alert or a Silver Alert associated with that vehicle. There's no personal identifiable information associated with that image. It's just an image of a back of a vehicle. It doesn't tell law enforcement who drives the vehicle, who owns it, who's in it, what they're doing, anything like that. And then I'll allow Kristen, if that's okay with the court, to also follow up with that and then address any other questions or concerns that she may have. Thank you.
Tell me your.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Kristen McLeod. I just wanted to add to Mr. McGuire and Mr. Parsons addressing the question regarding public records responses. So this comes up often, and we'd like to share that Flock is the guardian of all of your data. So all of the data is 100% owned by Hood County, by the department, and will never be accessed or sold by Flock without express consent from the customer. So we're the guardian of that information, and the majority of departments, just like Hood County Sheriff's Office, has in their policy that they will not be accessing any of the information in the system unless it's for public safety purposes or for a criminal investigation. So oftentimes, many jurisdictions have interpreted that if there is a broad public records request, so just as the commissioner had stated, someone is wanting all of the license plate information on this date from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., many times that is looked at and viewed as going against the department's policy because it's not for a criminal investigative purpose. So your department isn't accessing the system or any of the information contained within unless, again, it's explicitly part of a criminal investigation. And they also have to enter in a search reason to access the information, and that creates an auditable trail, which is held indefinitely, so that the administrators of the system, the sheriff's office, sheriff, his command staff, and appointees can go through and audit the searches to ensure that those searches are in accordance with department policy.
Okay, so the data belongs to the government entity.
Correct.
And it's, and I've heard something like 28 days or 30 days. Does it automatically, like Mission Impossible, burn up, or does the customer have to delete it? How does that work?
Great question. I wish it were that exciting. Our data is held in the Amazon Web Services government cloud. It's encrypted end to end, and it's held, it's the highest security, and we follow that policy for, so your data is defaulted to a 30-day retention. Each image is given a time to live stamp, if you will. At that 30-day mark, the image is hard deleted and unrecoverable. We allow the opportunity for our customers to extend data retention. However, that comes at an additional cost. And that must be approved by an elected body such as yourselves.
So I guess that you guys are familiar with some of the ACLU's objections, or at least, I don't know if I'd call them questions about the flock systems. For instance, are you familiar with a guy named Jay Stanley?
I'm not familiar with Mr. Stanley exactly, but I am familiar with the privacy concerns, certainly.
Yeah, he's got an article here, for instance. It's dated February of 23, so it's coming up on 2 years old. And the article is just, and he's conceding, for instance, here's the heading is How to Pump the Brakes on Your Police Department's Use of Flock's Mass Surveillance License Plate Readers. Then he has a subheading, Even if you can't stop its use, you can still help protect civil liberties in your community. And it's a several-page article. But, I mean, since you're a Flock spokesperson, you understand the civil liberties questions that y'all are getting, right? I mean, this isn't the first time you've heard some of this, correct?
Certainly, and happy to answer any questions. We absolutely understand that there will be privacy concerns, and we have implemented privacy safeguards as well as accountability measures into the Flock system to address these and help reassure your citizens that this is being utilized by your law enforcement agency for a very specific purpose to impact public safety. Those measures include, which we just discussed a little bit, is our 30-day data retention. The agency is not stockpiling information over long periods of time, nor is it concerned with just motorists that are just passing by the cameras. And that's why we implemented our audit feature, which is one of our accountability measures, so that the department can ensure that the system is being utilized for the purposes outlined in department policy, again, very specifically for public safety and criminal investigations. The data is 100% owned by our customers, so by Hood County, those images belong to you. Flock will never share that information. Again, that data belongs to you. That also gives our customers full control over who they share that data with. There is huge investigative and public safety benefit to sharing the information, alerts to wanted vehicles in the region, because we know that crime knows no boundaries. Folks who are committing crimes aren't checking to see what jurisdiction they're in. So there is benefit to that regional sharing. There is benefit to cross-state sharing. There's huge investigative benefit, and I'm sure Sheriff and Mr. McGuire can speak more to this. However, you are in full control of who you share that data with. So again, that is up to our customers and not Flock.
When you say share, you mean you grant them access. You're not giving the data to them.
Right, so other agencies, other law enforcement agencies will request access to our cameras, like so they can search stuff. So like they're looking for a murderer that may hit the Flock camera in Granbury, they're gonna look for that. We had the silver alert like a month ago where the gentleman came through us and we were looking for him for like an hour. Fortunately, they found him deceased somewhere else, but these people can see our hits and they can call us and get ahead of the curve, say, hey, this person just hit this camera at this intersection, can you guys go out there and start looking for him? So I know we talk about criminal, but there's way more to this than just that. The fire out in Pecan that happened last week, one of the reasons why we got him was a Flock. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff we use this for, so.
How did Flock help in that situation?
Because we ran his plate through the Flock system.
Oh, okay.
Knew which way he was going.
I thought you meant that the fire started. You meant the person who started the fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So allegedly
started the fire. Thank you.
There's way more that this is used for, and even with the grant, right? We get the grant, if we get the grant, I hope, and we set this in place, we can just use it for so much more than we have.
So I have a couple of questions. And are you, Commissioner Eagle, are you, okay. So one of the questions you mentioned that you have, one of the safeguards you have is an audit process. So who does that audit and how often do they do that?
So right now I do it, and since we got our cameras, I do it every 30 days.
And what does that audit consist of?
So it has the date on there, it has who the officer, deputy was, what the reason for the search was, and there's one other.
Okay, so the audit is of who is accessing it, not how the data is being, that there were no breaches or?
Yeah, no, the breaches, I would think that would be an IT question, correct? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I was thinking that, so I misunderstood the type of audit. Of course, audit's a big word and can be done in several different ways. So what Mr. McGuire is auditing is the access.
Making
Who's
sure it's not being
accessed
misused.
it and making sure. What about the security of the data? How is that being audited? Kristen?
I can take that question. Yes, thank you so much for that question. So as far, if there were to be, we have not had a data breach to date. If there were to be a data breach, we would notify our customers immediately as to all the details of what had occurred. And we would also follow, different states have different requirements with regard to data breaches. So of course we would be in compliance with those requirements. Something to highlight that I think is really also important is that there is no sensitive or biometric data in the Flock system whatsoever. And then each of our devices, we do not have, each of the devices doesn't have a public-facing IP address. So it's not, and IT could probably explain this a little bit better, but it's not possible to hack into the devices themselves.
Okay. I would say
if we had a
not
breach-
possible is a big word because the bad actors are getting smarter and smarter every day. As when our HR person brought up our multi-factor authentication, one of the things that they said was it's not if you're going to get hacked, it's when you're going to get hacked. So whatever safeguards you have in place, I think they need to be audited frequently to ensure that the data is secure. And it worried me a little that you said there's, that when there is a breach that you would be able, like when your credit card company gets hacked, they send out the thing that says, hey, we just lost a bunch of your information and we'll give you free credit monitoring and things like that. So is that what you're talking about when you say there's
you are correct in the not possible. That was a poor choice of words. But again, there is no sensitive or biometric information contained in the Flock system. And so if that were to happen, again, we would notify our customers right away that that had occurred. Again, there is no sensitive information contained in the system. And then in addition, we are SOC 2 compliant, we are AES encrypted end-to-end, so really the top level in data security practices, and we are more than happy to put your IT team in connection with our product team to really dig into what we have in place. And I can also share with Mr. McGuire, we have a trust report that is available to the public on our webpage that really goes in depth into, even more further as to how we ensure that we are protecting your data.
When you say there's no sensitive information, it has license plates, right? Can't you track who owns the car by their license plate?
You have to be able to do it. Oh, go ahead. They can't. So people can, like off the street, go get somebody's plate and call the state and say, hey, can I get the license plate? The law enforcement won't do that. Will Austin do that? I don't know because I've never even tried doing that before.
Okay, so I'm just thinking.
I will tell you too, if there's a breach and they call us to tell us, that's CJIS reportable. So we're going to the state, and then the state's going to get involved in that too. So
I'm just thinking of the bad actor position. So if a bad actor were to get access to this information, they could.
They're going to get license plates. That's all you get off of that.
So not make and model, not bumper
No.
stickers.
Well, so you get so when, on our screen, right, because when we talk about this whole surveillance thing, it's not what people are imagining like on the movies and stuff like that, right? Nobody's watching this stuff live. It pops up on our screen, and then we get an alert if it's a stolen vehicle or something like that. And all you get is a picture of the license plate. You get a picture of like what camera it hits and what kind of car it is. So it's like a 2023 Ford Explorer, blue in color. That's all you get out of it. There's nothing really to it. And yeah.
Okay.
I can go get that sitting on, I can go get that sitting on the road and do that.
So just kind of going back all the way to the beginning of this conversation, one of the things that we did talk about last court is that our Margaret Campbell, our emergency management coordinator, is going to be giving us a monthly report that shows the grants that are possible, the grants that are in the pipeline. So we will be getting that information ongoing.
You will be. And the report that we have for you shows grants that have just come open that we're eligible for. And then it also shows pre-application plans. So these are grants that we've looked at pretty in-depth. We're confident that it would suit our county and be in the best interest of the county to apply. And you'll see those before they come to court.
Yeah, and before application, or we might, I mean, there may be somebody up here who has some expertise in something that sees a grant that might say, hey, this would be a good one, or has some information that that one might not be a good one. So it would be good to have that information ahead of time, which is why we asked for the report.
Yes, and when you see the report, you will probably spot some of the grants on there that maybe, for example, you've sent me an email or sent Emily an email that said, hey, look into this, or this came across my desk. You'll see those in the investigated section of the report.
Let me ask you this, has any grants been granted to any counties surrounding Hood?
For this?
Yes.
Yes, Johnson County was awarded this grant.
Johnson has it? Any other counties? ERATH?
Surrounding us.
Any other?
There are quite a number of municipal city governments that have been awarded this grant. There are a number of, I think there's a handful of counties in Texas, but I couldn't speak to exactly how close they are to Hood County off the top of my head. But it's open to both county and city government agencies.
Okay. All right, but Johnson County has this. How long have they had it? Have they had the flock system?
Well, they've had flock for, I couldn't speak to the exact amount of time, but a couple of years time frame-ish. But this particular grant, they were awarded the fiscal year 24 cycle of this grant. And then they have been implementing it since they've been awarded that. So it's been over the course of the last handful of months, I would say, in that time frame, to expand upon their system.
Have you worked with Johnson County on anything,
So,
John?
no, Margaret's been reaching out to them so we can sit and talk about it. So that way we can make sure that as we put the cameras in, we're not putting 4 cameras in the same spot, because that would be a waste. Because when you sign the agreement and you interact with them, why have those 4 cameras in there when they can just say, oh, I can look at their camera and I can look at their camera? It saves money too, because when you're putting these cameras, it's like $18,000 maybe in one area when you only need $9,000. So we are working with them, and she's trying to get the meeting set up with them.
Let me ask you this. Are these just snapshots of the cars as they go by?
Yes, sir, that's all it is.
You can't follow the car. Like if you had a drunk driver on a highway.
So I want to
These
be careful.
cameras, let me finish my question. You know, you don't see the car weaving and changing lanes or doing any of that stuff, do you? So if you're drunk on the highway, this flock system's not going to pick that up, is it?
No. So how it works is so say we get our first hit with a stolen vehicle, and we do our process, we make sure that vehicle is the actual stolen vehicle. So then we know the camera tells us it's going eastbound or westbound. So then we're looking at the next set of cameras to see if it hit that camera. If it hits that camera, we know it's going westbound, so we can start trying to intercept it. Now, if it turns off and we don't see it at the next set of cameras, then we know, well, they went east or west. So,
Okay.
but remember, when I say stolen vehicle, the deputies and officers have done their investigation, have determined that's a stolen vehicle, and that is our job to go get it back.
Well, you can see how this is going to be very important for a silver alert or an amber alert, isn't it?
Yeah, so I take this one personal because I was there that day that we were looking for this guy, and we could have had him if we would have known a little earlier, because it takes 12 hours for it when they enter the missing person in the TCIC, NCIC to do the upload of the vehicle. Their agency actually called us because they did an online search knowing that it hit ours, but we were 20 minutes behind. And we looked for an hour for this guy, and they found him deceased up in another county. Well, we could have had him and returned him back to his family if we could have just worked a little faster. You know, it's just something else. That's why it's way more than just getting vehicles back and catalytic converters. We could have saved somebody's life that day. So.
Anybody else have anything? I know you haven't spoken yet, Mr. Yarborough, so have y'all got any other question of these three individuals up here? Anybody? You got another one?
So I appreciate the talk, right? I do.
Who's this?
I have no reason why not to come up and talk about this. And I also offer for you guys to come into dispatch. Anyway, if they can pass a general background check, come see what it looks like. It's not what you see on TV. It's not what you see on movies. My dispatchers don't have time to sit here and look at a screen all day long when they're answering phones and getting helicopters and stuff like that. Come see what it really looks like.
Definitely not worried about what you or your staff does. I'm more worried about bad actors that may get access to the information.
And I'm worried about misuse too, and I understand everybody's concern. That's why I'm fully confident that we have put everything in place to make sure it's not misused.
Let me ask you this, as the city of Granbury, since you said you work with cities, has the city of Granbury approved this system?
They've had it for 2 years now?
At least.
At least.
Well,
It's
we-
been here for a while.
Well, we have flock cameras. This is just,
So we have 2, but Granbury's
Yes.
been on the system for 2 to 3 years already.
yeah, we approved 2 last year.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, and they're already up.
144 and 51, where are
So
they?
up there in the construction zone, and then one on
Crescent.
Glen Rose and Mitchell Bend.
Yeah.
Would you clear this up? So this is not video. This is taking like 5,000 pictures of every 10 seconds. I mean, how?
So
I mean,
when I did a test, right? So in 1 hour on the right there in the construction zone 377, there was 1,035 camera photos taken in that 1 hour. In 1 hour.
Like when you go through the toll tag booth,
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's just what it is. That's all it is. It's still photos.
Okay.
and well, I got to get my hands around that. But anyway, thank you. I mean, again, I'm not questioning I appreciate y'all having the ability to uncover crime, Amber Alerts, somebody with dementia driving around, Grandpa's, we don't know what happened to Grandpa, but he took the car, and here's the license number, and hopefully he doesn't run over somebody before we find him. I get all that. And like I said, I'm just raising when I've studied technology, it's always what can be done with it that's not right. So that's all I'm bringing this up for. No questioning about anybody's motives. And Blaine, what's your last name?
My last name is Parsons.
What?
Parsons.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Faye, you needed to turn this in prior to the calling of the deal. No, you can't. You sit up here, you know the rules better than anybody else. I say every time, Phil, if you want to do prior to this calling of it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But Brad Yarborough.
Thank you again, Judge. I too had the same concerns as Republican Chair Greg Harold had, who I serve under as Republican Precinct 409, on who has the access to that data. So I am kind of worried on, just like Nanette said, on bad actors. I mean, we have a constable that can't do certain things because he was revoked for abusing his power on looking up people's info. So I would like to see more restriction on this, maybe just restrict it to the sheriff's office, or maybe even just a couple employees of the sheriff's office. And another thing that kind of concerns me on this agenda item is Eagle's own words. He said, it was on the agenda and I didn't pay attention to it. A commissioner not paying attention to an item that's on the agenda? I mean, that's your job. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. And then another area of concern is, he said he's putting it back in the agenda because y'all didn't get a chance to discuss it. Well, every meeting I ever been to, when the judge says, is there any more discussion, there's your opportunity. You had all the opportunity in the world to discuss this. But what I'm hearing is, I didn't like the way the vote went, so I'm going to put it back on here. And we've seen that time and time again from Commissioner Dave Eagle, or alleged Commissioner Dave Eagle. So I'm kind of concerned about that. Are you going to change your vote? Did someone get a tongue lashing where now they're going to change their vote to vote the way he wants, because that's why it's on the agenda again? So I'm a little concerned about that. Thank you.
That's all the speakers I have on this thing. All right, Christine? Yeah, okay.
So every commissioner has an unfettered right to put something on the agenda. You've already had your chance to speak. You're out of order. So I just wanted to make this clear.
Oh, we're going to vote.
That agenda item, well, it speaks for itself. I already stated my case, so it doesn't matter. I could walk across the lake and he would criticize me. So anyway, that's all I got.
I hear a motion, or we move on?
This is just discussed.
No,
It does say appropriate action.
You know what? Based on what I've heard today, I don't see any sense in making. Yeah, I will make a motion. I'll make a motion to reverse the last vote and buy more time to look for us to get more, do more research on this particular item. So I'll make that motion to nullify the last vote and put this on an agenda at a future time.
We have a motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to reverse the last passage of this MVCPA resolution regarding the catalytic converter, Senate Bill 2024, and take a new vote. Is there a second to that? If not, it fails for lack of a second. Let's move on to number 13. Discuss and take appropriate action regarding resolution of Hood County Commissioners Court urging Texas legislature to pass legislation during the next legislative session to prohibit all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying.
You got some speakers, Judge?
Do. Dr. Granick, do you want to start this off? Or do you want to wait until the Commissioners Court talk about it?
I'll wait until the Commissioners talk about it.
Okay.
Well, this is my agenda item. I just soon hear the speakers first.
Well, I'm running this deal up here, and the speakers can speak whenever, so
Actually,
that's it. You sponsored it here. You put it on here, discuss and take appropriate action regarding this resolution.
So I'm going to make a motion that the speakers speak first.
second, that's actually in accordance with our rules of decorum. It says the speakers will speak when called. And you called him?
Never had that. We've had them speak before or after
That's
here.
what our-
It's not in there that they have, that the speakers that are lined up speak first. It's not in our rules. So we'd have to have a public notice of this, put it on and vote against it at the next meeting. Jesus, does everything have to be so difficult here?
I'm just saying it's what when we updated the rules of decorum, that was in there.
Not in there. You know, Dr. Grant, why don't you just come up here and say what you want to say on it?
Okay, well, after item 12, and I had Commissioner Eagle quoting the ACLU and find out he's converted to be a liberal, I'm shocked. The only thing that bothers me about this is that First, I think all elections should be publicly funded. It strikes me that this bill could potentially hamper, or this suggested legislation could hamper some legislation that could benefit the community, but the government funded lobbying couldn't propose, while lobbying by very wealthy people, as we see in the presidential election, could dominate something. So something that may not be particularly good in the for the people. And what comes to mind is I know that the rockets that are being fired off by, I think it's SpaceX, down on the beach, some of the public beaches have been closed off against the law because the person who heads SpaceX has managed to use lobbying to get his advantage. So I think this just needs to be looked at much more carefully. And I'm glad to see that Commissioner Eagle has become a liberal.
Thank you. That's the only speaker that's signed up.
Okay.
All right.
If that's it, then I'll speak to this. So on November the 11th is the Monday after the election. That election is on November the 5th. Bills are allowed to start being submitted to the legislature, both in the Senate and the House. And contrary to, a little sidebar on the ACLU, I made that same comment to Mr. Silverton that, I'm pretty far right, and he laughed. He said, I've heard that before, but he said, we do line up on some issues, like this one. So believe it or not, the ACLU is not totally bad, and they have some good ideas on this particular issue. But anyway, we went down to our state convention last May, the Republican Party of Texas state convention, and one of our legislative priorities that we voted on, the Republicans that were elected in this county to go down and became precinct chairs, county chairs, and delegates and alternates to that convention, one of the legislative priorities reads thusly: prohibit all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying, including the use of tax dollars to hire lobbyists and payment of tax dollars to associations that lobby the legislature. So I didn't make this up. This is from the Republican Party, of which I'm a part. I'm proud to say that, and I'm a conservative Republican, not an alleged one. And so 2 years ago, we had State Senator Mays Middleton drafted a proposed legislation to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. He was joined by Senator Paul Bettencourt out of Houston, and also Bob Hall out of East Texas, who, Bob Hall, by the way, was here last week to speak to the Republican group. And it passed, this particular legislative action, the Senate Bill 175 passed last session, passed by a majority. It went and died a natural death in the House because there is a political difference between the Senate and the House in the Texas legislature. This resolution is going to come back. This legislation is going to be revisited, and in support thereof, because I agree with the concept, I put this on the agenda for a vote of the Commissioners Court. If they vote it down, they do. That's the old American way. But would you like me to read this? I'll just read it. Hood County Commissioners Court resolution against all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying. Whereas, as of November 11th, 2024, proposed legislation may be submitted for the upcoming 89th legislature, which is to begin session in January 2025. And whereas during the 88th legislative session, SB 175 was filed by Senators Mays Middleton, Paul Bettencourt, and Bob Hall that speaks directly to restricting political subdivisions from spending public money, public funds, to engage in various lobbying activities. And whereas during the 88th legislature, SB 175 passed the Texas Senate by a vote of 9-12. And whereas during the 88th legislative session, House Bill 3538, a companion bill, exact same words, was filed by State Representative Ellen Troxclair that likewise speaks directly to restricting political subdivisions from spending public funds to engage in various lobbying activities. And whereas the 88th legislative session HB 3538 was allowed to die a slow and painful death in committee at the Texas House and therefore failed. And whereas in May 2024, the Republican Party of Texas unanimously passed a legislative priority calling for the prohibition of all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying, including the use of tax dollars to hire lobbyists and payment of tax dollars to associations that lobby the legislature. And whereas taxpayer-funded lobbying in Texas has grown out of control and millions of dollars of taxpayer money are being spent in Austin to sometimes advocate against the best interest of the taxpayers. And whereas local government organizations such as the Texas Association of Counties provide numerous worthwhile programs and services to assist local governments, including health and employee benefit, risk pools, continuing education, and legal service, etc. And whereas local government organizations such as the Texas Association of Counties have expanded beyond providing useful, important services and now use taxpayer funds from their other services and membership dues to fund significant lobbying efforts in direct contravention of the legislative agendas voted on by county commissioners court that claim to represent all counties in Texas while advocating for policies which every county may not agree. Next page, please. And whereas local government organizations such as Texas Association of Counties should be reined in and legislatively forced to ban such lobbying activity, be it therefore resolved that the Hood County Commissioners Court expresses its support for legislation that would ban all forms of taxpayer-funded lobbying, and that copies of this resolution be transmitted to Senators Mays Middleton, Paul Bettencourt, and Bob Hall, as well as to Representatives Shelby Slauson and Ellen Troxclair, and the Texas legislature in general, and to any other relevant stakeholders to underscore the importance of this matter in the Hood County community and to seek support for our efforts to ensure that the practice of taxpayer-funded lobbying be discontinued at the highest levels signed today. And I'll make a motion that we approve that resolution.
Well, I'd like to say something here. You know, TAC, which is part of Jim Allison, I dare say that I think every member on this commissioner court has used the advice of Jim Allison or McGee or Bass, that law firm, to answer numerous questions that have come up through the years here. They provide an invaluable service to this county. I know I've used them. I know that everybody up here has asked questions and asked them, and that Jim Ellison is an expert on this law. He also takes all the bills that come up. If there's any bill that affects a county government, they send that bill to us and dissect the bill, if you will. There is absolutely no way that I don't think anybody up here has the time to read all the bills that are introduced or that are proposed every year. There are thousands of bills on the thing. You know, that's the thing that gets me. TAC is an invaluable service to Hood County, I can tell you that, and has helped this county on innumerable situations. If we could, you know, tax funding deal, that sounds good. Jim Allison wrote in this month's County Progress magazine up here, he said, using the term taxpayer funding lobbyists, this sounds good, but it would bar local officials from expanding expending funds to contact the legislature or support nonprofit associations that communicate on their behalf, like the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas. This misguided proposal would silence the voice of local officials while increasing the influence of special interest groups. That's what the real problem is on here. There's, on both sides of the aisle, you got billionaires that are throwing lots of money both ways on the deal that will drown out any kind of resources that a county has to speak our voice or legislations that is a benefit to the counties, but more importantly, legislation that harms the county. This, I mean, the TAC, Texas Association of Counties, really provides an excellent, excellent service to Hood County and the rest of the 253 counties. I don't know what other public funding it is. I'm probably in favor of anything else. If this could say, except for Texas Association of Counties, I'd probably be all over this, because that is one thing that this county needs and all rural counties really need, is to keep the Texas Association of Counties and Jim Allison's firm up there fighting on behalf of what is in the best interest of all counties. So that's my say on this. So.
Well, and my opinion on this is, that, yes, I believe that TAC does do a lot of good things. The research, the fact that we can go to them with questions and ask for legal opinions and those kind of things, but that doesn't change. That's not lobbying. That's not going to the legislator and buying a steak dinner or whatever else. There are things in TAC, some of the stances that TAC takes, I very much think are against the taxpayers individually. And the taxpayers have a voice. People have a voice. We can use the political system to have a voice. This has a voice. This isn't taxpayer-funded lobbying. We're going to our legislatures and saying, on behalf of our citizens, we're looking for this. What we have with taxpayer-funded lobbying is a dominance by the cities, Houston and Austin and San Antonio, and those groups that are spending huge money to go down there and lobby the legislators to get specific things passed that harm the counties as opposed to the cities. This is the kind of thing that I'm opposed to, and I'm absolutely in favor of this resolution, and I'll second it.
I have to say that this was one of the things that I spoke against when I was out there, and this came up several years ago, and I came up to the podium and said, I was in favor of banning taxpayer-funded lobbying because the person that was in this chair prior was putting the exact opposite resolution up, and I came up and spoke against that person's resolution because I am also in favor of banning taxpayer-funded lobbying for the same reasons that Commissioner Andrews has mentioned. Since being in this chair, I have seen communication from lobbyists that we are supporting with your tax dollars, supporting people in positions that are pro-taxation, pro-big government, and anti-free market, and anti-citizen. And I get those emails, and I'm like, we're paying for this, and I am not in favor of this position or this person, and yet we are sending your tax money to support that organization. TAC is, I have used TAC a lot since I've been in this position to interpret the law, to give us advice on the law that's existing, and I think they're a great benefit for that. But I think I have a voice. I'm supporting you. If you ask me to get in touch with the legislature, which I am doing, as you know, on our situation out in Mitchell Bend, I'm talking to not just Shelby Slauson and Senator Brian Birdwell, but other legislatures as well. And so I have that voice. I don't need pay a lobbying firm that doesn't agree with the way that the citizens that I represent voted me here to do. So thank you for putting this on the agenda.
And I'd like to, are you through for a minute? Yes, sir. Okay, I'd like to address, first of all, this resolution, I just read it to you. It acknowledges the Texas Association of Counties is a very valuable resource for us. Commissioner Samuelson just said it, so did Commissioner Andrews. They are a very valuable resource. Now, I was down at a Texas Association of Counties legislative session last month to see what the new legislation is coming in, potential. And I did speak to Jim Allison on this issue. He and I just disagree on it. Jim Allison is a great attorney, and he's got some great ideas, and he's very, very helpful in many areas. But on this particular point, we just disagree. And that's okay. That's okay. And this is a Republican platform. This is the Republican legislative priority. This was voted on by the Republicans that bothered to go down to the convention and take part in this process. This was a legislative priority out of 8, one of 8. So, again, I've already put the motion on the table to pass this resolution.
Have a second? No. Yeah.
It's, all right, motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to pass the resolution of the Hood County Commissioners Courts urging the Texas legislation to pass legislation to prohibit all forms of taxpayer funding lobbying, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Break.
Yeah. All right. The vote is 3-2, Christine. Got it. Okay. All right. We're going to take a short break. It's 11:30. We'll be back in 10 minutes. 19 minutes to 12. We're back on the record here. Item number 14, discuss and take appropriate action to consider whether the county accept Lakeshore Drive and Oak Trail Shores as a county-maintained road. We got 2 speakers on this. The first speaker is Mr. Donald Rohde. And the second, huh?
We swapped Terry first. Terry first.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it.
All right.
Commissioners, thank you for your time. I'll make this brief. I'll make this brief.
You're going to be sure to speak this so that everybody can hear.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. My wife and I moved to Oak Trail Shores in '05, temporarily. We came the first 5 years from Fort Worth and traveled down to here. In 2010, my wife had major back surgery, both front and rear. She has a titanium rod in her back. So once she got through that, we went into the real estate business. We ended up moving down here and retired in 2010. I got on the board of the Homeowners Association about 2 years in. I was a president for 6 years in the Homeowners Association. I've worked in the community for the whole time I've lived here, and I helped get the roads fixed with the help of Steve Berry when he was a commissioner to get these roads done. It took me almost 2 years to convince him. I hope it's not going to take this long this time. We have a problem in the Oak Trail Shores community, but especially on the Lake Road. I got all the roads except 2 in Oak Trail Shores done, And those two, one of them is a side road, and the other one is Lake Shore. But Steve Berry worked with me. There is a provision for safety, for emergency, for the roads have to be maintained in a manner that will make it safe to get to the community. And so I'm asking you to give us a vote on this in the affirmative, to go forward with this. And I'm going to ask this young man behind me who lives on the Lakeshore Road to speak, and he's going to speak about the roads and what's going on down there. And I live there too.
Next, Donald Rhodey. Okay.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you for your time. Appreciate the opportunity to come up here and just share a little bit about what's going on in my community. I've got several letters I've kind of been just thrown into the fire here as to more or less represent the citizens on Lakeshore Drive to bring this forth and hopefully get something done. I'm new to the community. We've owned our home since 2019 as part-time residents on the lake. We've become full-time residents of Hood County as of November of last year, so 1 year in. I've got a few letters here which I can give to whoever, just of other residents on the street. Our group request to get the road fixed. The road is in really bad shape, and I don't know all of the ins and outs and the legalities of how this works. I understand our HOA is broke. We've got a road which is in, I don't know that I've seen another road in Hood County that's in this kind of condition. Huge potholes. We've personally had a situation where my niece was injured on a jet ski, and I'll tell you the emergency vehicles had such a difficult time on our road. They had to go down to the boat ramp where they could get her into, they had to bring Brazos police boat, load her into the boat, take her over to the neighboring boat ramp so that they could get her in a boat so that she could be air flown out at the fire department. So it's really a mess over there, and all we're asking is, we pay the same taxes as everybody else in Hood County does, and we just want roads that look like everybody else's roads and streets here in Hood County, and that's all we're asking. And I appreciate your time, and we hope to get a successful vote out of that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Judge, if I may, I'm going to do a little background on this. This Lakeshore Drive has been a subject, been brought up several times, and I talked to our road ops about that, to go out there and take a look at it and tell us, we have certain requirements that have to be met to be able to accept a road into the county road system. And so I've had Mr. Lenny go out and inspect the road to make an evaluation. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lenny to tell us the situation with that road based on your inspection.
Judge, Commissioners, I did go out there last Thursday on the 10th of October. As the gentleman has said earlier, it has quite a few potholes and some level ups. There's some areas that don't have lateral drainage, and I'm sure it's due to the fact that the landslides that they've had in the past on the side of that hill is what caused it, and it just never been cleaned back up. But from the policy from the Commissioner's Court from 2019, no, it does not adhere to that policy to be taken in at this time.
And here's the problem. I get a lot of calls on this situation too, especially being on the more rural part of the county. We have a lot of roads out here that aren't great, private maintained roads. And for us to take all of these into the county system, that cost would be hundreds of millions of dollars to take these roads in and fix and bring them all up to spec. So what we require is that if it's brought up to spec, if the road is brought to our standards, then we will adopt it and take over maintenance.
May I speak again?
Yes, come on up.
There's a precedence.
Well, wait till you get to the mic so we can.
There's a precedence here that was done at the time we did the roads the first time. And look into that precedent, and it says that those roads are supposed to be maintained to where they're safe. And all of the roads that I got done the last time, with the help of Jesus Christ, we got all of those roads done, except those two. And the other one is just a cutoff road that's a partial road. And it is a safety issue, it's a health issue, and it's a problem that can be solved. The mudslides are from here to here, and then everything else is everybody's road down there. So the mudslides are going to happen or not happen. So I don't think there's any reason that we should, eventually you're going to have something happen down there that needs to be addressed. So why not get ahead of it, get them maintained now to where we can travel around those roads. We got people going around that road all the time, and get them all the roads that they can, and then look to what we can do as we get to the point if there's a problem. We're not having a problem now, so I think that we can go ahead and get the rest of this group and on this road and get it fixed. It's not a large road, it's not that long, but it gets travel, and we're getting it beat up, and it needs to be handled, and I think it should be in the affirmative.
Mr. Lenny, this has been brought up before when Steve Berry was the commissioner in Precinct 4, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And it was discussed at that time?
Yes, sir. And according to the plat, it's not a very wide right-of-way, and you've got the lake on one side, and lots and then a lake, and then you've got this hill, which by looking at the plat, probably a lot of that hill will be in the right-of-way. So the thinking was from previous commissioners, and there's been 3 of them, that they didn't want the county to have to take that liability in. There's another road out there that we haven't taken, and basically it's a dam. Holding up a dam.
Oh.
But it was said then that we would never take that one either. So we've had the same situation come up in Comanche Harbor, and this is prior to me being here, and that commissioner at that time, back in the 80s, did not take it. It was the same thing. It was a dam. Years later, after I got here and everything, TCQ sent me a letter telling us how we're going to have to fix that dam. Come to find out, we had documentation that it was never taken in by the county, and that was the reason for it.
So could I ask you this? So in order for a road to be maintained by the county, at least in the best case scenario, a developer comes out, let's say a new development, develops the roads, he's coordinating with the county if he's planning on, or he or she are planning on dedicating those roads in that development to the county, and allows the county to take part in its building, because the county does not want to accept, this county still has to accept the road. In other words, the developer can say, I'm going to give you these roads, but unless the county accepts the road, which makes it a offer and acceptance,
yes,
we cannot maintain it. Is correct?
That's correct.
In prior times, the county has gotten itself into accepting developments and finding out woefully for all the taxpayers that that the road was not constructed the way up to the specs the county expects.
Prior to the 2019.
Prior to 2019.
Policy. The policy's changed about 3 or 4 times. It was really strict when we first started. You had to have so much base and everything. Then we relaxed on a little bit, and then a third time they relaxed even more is when the gentleman's talking about when they come into the system. In 2019, the Commissioners Court at that time decided to not be so drastic as the very first one, but I've got 4 that's coming up in the next court out of a development. Went out and looked at it after Commissioner Samuelson got a hold of me, and they re-chip sealed. That's what they've been doing the last 5 or 6, well, since 2019. They repaired the roads and chip sealed them, and when we take them over, we don't have anything to do. We're not having to fix anything or rebuild anything, so.
Motion?
So so this is in my precinct, and try to help these folks out. I'm going to make a motion to accept Lakeshore Drive in Oak Trail Shores as a county-maintained road. Could you tell me the 2 streets on both ends?
Forest Ridge to the south, and Canyon Trail.
Okay, from Forest Park?
That's the worst part between Forest Park and Canyon Trail, where all the washouts are.
All right, from Forest Park to Canyon Trail. That's my motion.
Second. Motion fails for lack of a second. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I mean,
We just let it wash out, and what do we do when it's washed out?
You're going to have to come and fix it.
I mean, how do the emergency vehicles get to you when it's washed out?
You're going to have to fix it at
well,
some
see,
point.
no, the county doesn't have to fix it. I mean, the homeowners association, I mean, I don't know what you're going to have to do.
We're not talking about,
Okay.
we all know yes, it's not the
Okay, sorry. Okay. Next item, item number 15, review and approve and sign the agreement with Fiddler Technologies to institute property fraud alert software for the county clerk's office. This is a service that will be provided to Hood County property owners at no additional cost to the property owners. The initial cost of the service agreement is $9,000 with annual ongoing maintenance of $2,500 per year, fixed for the first 3 years. The first year cost will be $9,000 plus the $2,500 for a total of $11,500. Years 2 and 3 will be $2,500 per year. This is a permissible expense to be paid from the County Clerk Archive Fund, Contract Service Account 068-4310-40800. This is yours, isn't it?
It is, Judge.
Christine?
Thank
It sounds
you.
like a real good deal. This is like, you like this?
I'm super excited about it, but I'm going to have to table it till the next court. Since I put this on the agenda, the county attorney reviewed the proposal, and they want to include a cybersecurity clause, and so I need more time so we can work that out.
Okay. So you want to table it until
Table
the
it
next?
to the next court, yes, please.
Table it to the next time. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to table item 15.
Until the next Commissioner's Court.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Matter carries unanimously. All right, 18, discuss and take appropriate action regarding the donation and placement of a metal art sculpture from the late Granbury Master Gardeners to Hood County Library. Come on up here, please. Look at this fabulous deal. Finally, something we can all agree on. Ms. Logsdon, do you love this? The 4 stages of life of a monarch butterfly. Isn't that beautiful? That's wonderful. You like it? I love it. Tell us about it.
They're going to also, I went to the Master Gardeners to ask them to help design and update our front flower beds. They're looking really sad. And so we're doing some soil samples, and we're wanting to implement some community involvement in that. And so when I went to talk to them about it, they said, hey, we also have this sculpture that we need a place for. This might be a good partnership. And I'm like, sounds like a good plan to me. So they needed a place to put this where it's going to be visible to the community. And the library is a perfect educational place to put that, and then we'll design the flower bed around the sculpture. So it's a win-win for them. It's a win for them, a win for us, and hopefully I'm not sure the timeline on that. I do know that we're planning on a community, get the soil prep ready in the fall, and then in the spring, hopefully get stuff planted. So I'm not sure timeline on this.
Yeah, this young lady was
Okay.
the Master Gardener of the Year in 2021. Did you know that?
She's a butterfly lady.
Yes, she is. Yes.
Good morning,
please state
Judge
your
and
name for the
Commissioners.
record.
I'm Deborah Rollins, Lake Granbury Master Gardener, and we've been working for about 3 years on creating something, an art sculpture that we could donate to the city that would express what we do on an educational basis. Lake Granbury Master Gardeners are working with the community, our schools, and our local artisans to create a permanent metal art sculpture called Life Cycle. To be donated to the city of Granbury and placed in the garden at Hood County Library for all to see and enjoy, and as we celebrate our community as the North Texas favorite city for migrating monarch butterflies to linger and to teach our children about this life cycle. Our timeline, we were having parallel conversations. Some of my other Master Gardener buddies were talking about the garden. At the same time, we were talking about this. We're looking at a timeline of approximately spring of 2025 to put the garden in all around this life cycle sculpture, which will be for pollinators. So we'll have butterflies. My favorite thing, we'll have butterflies flying around the door of the library and all around this garden. This sculpture we're looking at as the ramp comes down to a level with a parking lot, there'll be a 5-foot by 5-foot concrete pad that this metal art sculpture will sit on. It's 6 feet tall, 36 inches around. It's very interactive, it's 3-dimensional, and there'll be a sign, it's descriptive. So kids and adults alike can learn about the life cycle of a monarch butterfly and how that applies to us in our community for life and hope and continuity.
And then right there next to it will be an example of the garden of what they could do at their home.
Exactly, which is what we do. We're a teaching entity within the county.
Finally, something to brighten my day. Okay, thank you very much. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I move that we accept the donation and placement of a metal art sculpture from the Lake Granbury Master Gardeners to the Hood County Library as been stated.
Okay. Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to accept the donation and placement of the metal art sculpture from the Lake Granbury Master Gardeners to the Hood County Library, second by
I seconded
Samuelson.
it, yeah.
Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. No opposition, unanimous. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing that. That's going to be a nice addition. It
We'll
really
have a
is.
grand opening for
Yes.
sure.
Good.
We'll
good.
release
Thank
live
you.
butterflies and have a nice
Oh,
opening.
nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay,
17.
item 17 has been pulled, so number 18, discuss and take appropriate action to approve moving an employee transferring from another department to Treasurer's Office from Step 1, $36,000 to Step 3, $38,200 due to tenure with Hood County effective October the 7th, 2024. Ms. McCoy,
I'm
public
just-
speaker here.
Yes, my favorite thing. I'm just asking for this employee, due to her experience, her past experience, and her time with Hood County, that she be moved to Step 3, same as the previous employee that just left.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the moving an employee transferred from another department to Treasurer's Office from Step 1 to Step 3 due to tenure with Hood County, effective 10/7/2024.
Commissioner Andrews to move an employee transfer from another department to Step 1 to Step 3. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, number 19, consider take appropriate action to revise the annual salary for one employee in the county attorney's office and one employee in the facility maintenance for the 2024-25 budget with the effective date of Tuesday, October the 1st, and give direction to the auditor to make proper adjustments. Commissioner
Yeah,
Andrews.
There was a whole lot involved in, in putting this new matrix in place, and there were a couple of errors on this. We had one that didn't factor in the cert pay on the matrix, and I think after discussion, the easiest thing there to do is to reset that matrix, because it's it's off right now, and I've got a proposal for resetting the matrix for the clerical supervisors. Pull that up.
Different than when I sent you a question of what this agenda item was, it wasn't.
Actually, if you're talking about the county attorney employee, it's base pay that's off.
Yes, yeah, and that was,
Okay.
yeah, well, I messed up the base pay when figuring the cert pay. That, so, yeah. So what would make this work out is to set step 1 on clerical supervisor to 44.3, set step 2 to 45.2, and that would be set that salary to step 2 for the county attorney's employee. This impacts 4, but it straightens the matrix out. Actually, all 4 of them are going to be on a different step. So step 1 would be on clerical supervisor. Step 1 goes to 44.3.
From?
42.5. Nobody's on that step. Step 2 would be 43.4, or 45.2, sorry.
From, what was it?
43.4 to 45.2.
Does that affect 2 employees?
No, just 1. There'll be 1 on each step. 1 at step 1, 1 at step 2, 1 at step 3, and then there'll just be a single asterisk now. So.
Step
So
1.
the county attorney employee that we're talking about now will go to which step?
Step 2.
Step 2 at 45.2. Incentive stays the same?
Yes.
Okay.
You have that down, Christine.
Okay. Step 3 would be 45.8. And then the asterisk would be 47.850.
Oh,
Kind of shifts everything over.
I know you've spent a lot of time on this, but, okay, so when I asked what this was, I didn't get an updated salary matrix, so it wasn't as part of the agenda. I just feel real uncomfortable with making these changes on the fly with none of us having any information other than what you're saying now. I mean, there was no attachment with here's the old, here's the new, how many people it's impacting. I mean, you're telling us this now, but it kind of feels like we're doing it on the fly.
Well, this person ended up with a pay cut, the only person in the county.
I'm just saying, it would have been better if you would have had this information so that we could have asked for it when we got the agenda. So, anyway.
And just to clarify, for the clerical supervisor, you have no one currently on step 1, correct?
Yes, there would be 1 on step 1.
So they would get an increase? The one that's on step 1?
No, that's where they are right now.
Oh, okay, so we're moving, you're talking about county attorney currently is on that step 1. So no one else would be on that step 1?
Yeah, this is why I'm uncomfortable with it, is because there's not a before and an after to give to the auditor and the treasurer. I mean, they can go back and listen to the recording, I guess.
Well, and I need to make sure that there's no other employees on step 2 for clerical supervisor.
Right, there's 1 in the district clerk's office
Okay.
on step
So they would go
one.
up, so they're on step one already.
Well, actually, they're paid step 3,
Oh, okay,
and that needs to be step 1.
I gotcha. So we would
So-
need to do some adjusting.
Right.
But does it affect salaries for those other 3?
No, there's no change in any salary with that.
If we change the steps, it will. Because once I go in and change the matrix, it changes everyone's steps that's already on that step.
That,
Is their base salary not what you're doing?
yes, it is the base
So you would move
salary.
someone to 3 to 1.
They are listed on the spreadsheet, they're listed as step 1,
Okay.
but their salary lines up with step 3.
So
So,
if, just ask this question, and I know it would be retroactive, but I feel like we're making, everyone's unclear about what's going on. If we table it, but how does that affect people if we table it? That's my worry.
yeah, that's.
It already affects the employee.
Making less
Yeah.
last pay period, and that employee would make less this coming pay period. Or it doesn't.
Then if it would be retroactive back to the first.
Well, what I would recommend is the court figure the increase into the next 25 pay periods instead of really making it retroactive back to the first. However, this was an error, so I think it's legit to make it retro back to the first. There's a law that says there's no retroactive pay. There is, I agree. There's lots of
Okay.
opinions out there, and I would not want to penalize this employee though because of that. So I would recommend that the court include that increase and divide it by 25 instead of 26.
Yeah, but the agenda item says to be effective October 1st.
Well, that's actually regarding the facility maintenance employee who did not get the increase based on the budget. Correct.
The incentive was more than it should have been for the one employee.
On the spreadsheet, her incentive was not correct on the spreadsheet. It was not calculated correctly. So we would need to make that adjustment.
So let me ask this, can we not just add an asterisk and put this county attorney employee on this for now? So it doesn't, so we can look at, make sure there's no other clerical supervisors on these steps? Because like I said, even if they are currently on the step 3, but we're now moving it to step 1, it's going to shift the matrix.
So create an asterisk, a triple
It'll only
asterisk
affect
at
the
this
person
point
that I
right
put it
now.
on.
Right.
So it will only affect that one person.
Okay.
And not several.
We can do that, and I'll come back next court with spelled out step matrix, and then we'll adjust the matrix.
Well, and if
at
you
that
do the
point, so.
asterisks, at least you can include the pay that was missed.
But the
Right.
asterisk is $600 more than what you were saying step 2 was going to be.
No, she's saying create a whole nother asterisk.
Just leave the step where it is. Just for today.
Well-
Just leave the step where it is for today.
Right.
Add the asterisks with this pay that you want this employee to have, so we can go ahead and get them paid.
So you're saying adjust the salary for this one employee
Right,
today, and then
right.
fix the matrix.
You wouldn't
If it
even need to
needs-
fix the matrix if you just do an asterisk for this one employee.
Okay.
There is an asterisk already for that particular client.
Salary?
Right.
Okay.
So this would be a
Well,
triple.
then we could just say, put her on that asterisk. Put
Well,
them on that asterisk.
That's the option. We can either put them on the asterisk that already exists or create a 3 asterisks for that.
So the asterisk that already exists, is that the pay that you're wanting to give them?
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you would have
I
to
think there
create-
needs to be a.
Yeah,
Right. And then, okay, well then let's do this. On clerical supervisor, I make a motion that we have a 3 asterisk step, move the county attorney's clerical supervisor to that step at a rate of 45.3 per year. Beginning,
I could do 10-7, unless you want to go back to,
are we,
Well, we just need to include the last pay period.
yes, I can do 10-7, and I can change.
okay, effective 10/7.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and then on the other one, I guess we'll end up doing this 2 parts. We need to make the correction to incentive pay with the one in facility maintenance. That the new PAF came out that way, correct, with the corrected?
No, I did not run the PAF. I was waiting for the court to take action, and then I'll run it through next court.
Okay. All right, so to adjust that annual salary to, or to put the incentive pay at the correct calculation.
It was the 2,400.
24,
Oh. Lord.
Do you have the wording down? Yeah. Okay, you got that. All right. Do I hear a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Is that it?
that's it.
Okay. Now we get to the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to pull anything or question anything on the consent agenda?
Yes, I wanted to request just a quick discussion on the investment policy. I've had some discussions with Ms. Matlock and Ms. McCoy about the benefits of having an investment committee. So I'd like to unstrike the Section D, and then over the next few months, we're going to discuss that and possibly bring it back to court. It's on the investment policy. It's towards the end of the consent agenda. D, Section D.
Talking about page 12 and 13? That's all been lined through? Is that what you?
Section that's been, it's been there, and it was just struck through. The consent. Request that we could still vote, but the vote would be to unstrike that Section D and then vote to approve the.
And that's fine. I had an investment advisor that I had sent the policy to kind of help me tweak it a little bit. And they had said, since you do not have an investment policy, it's pointless to have that in there. We've had it in there for years. It's not an issue to keep it in there. We have discussed doing a committee. I just would like to get all the rules and procedures of having a committee, who needs to be on that committee, what is the qualifications of the committee, what is the requirements. I'd like to have that in place before we set a committee, so you can more than, I'm okay with leaving it in.
So you want to remove this from the consent agenda?
No.
No, we want to leave it, just undo the strike.
Yeah, say that so should I just make the motion now to approve the,
Well, there's other ones in it.
But I think you need 2 motions.
okay,
I think you need a motion to unstrike. You need to pull it from the agenda, consent, make a motion to unstrike it, and get a vote, then put it back on the consent agenda.
I'm making the motion to unstrike the section in the investment policy that was related to the investment committee, so that will go back in the policy. So that's the motion.
And to clarify, that's item D on
Item
pages
D,
12 and
6.
13. Aye. Now you can put it back on the consent.
Yeah, so now we're going back to the consent agenda. No, sir. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Up, so we go to development. Mr. Clint Head, discuss and consider the final plan of Butler Addition, lots 1 and 2, block 1.
This property is located in the Road Corridor District in Precinct 4. The subdivision will be creating a 3.804 acre lot known as Lot 1 and an 8.544 acre lot known as Lot 2. These lots will be served by private well and on-site sewage facilities. There's no infrastructure proposed to be constructed with this final plat. Will access existing roads. This final plat will be dedicating 0.815 of an acre for right-of-way along Tomlinson Road, 0.105 of an acre of right-of-way along Bandy Road, for a total of 0.920 of an acre to be dedicated as right-of-way. Staff has reviewed this final plat and all comments have been addressed.
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the final plat of Butler Addition, lots 1 and 2, block 1, as stated.
That motion is made by Commissioner Eagle to approve the final plat of Butler Addition, lots 1 and 2, block 1.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimous. What else do you have?
To discuss and consider, take appropriate action to choose option 1 or option 2 for the construction plans related to the drainage in the wall at Acton Annex. We don't have any prices on this yet. We're just trying to finish the construction plans. I mean, obviously, if you build the little 2-foot tall, 12-inch wide wall, there's going to be some added expense compared to just putting dirt. But the choice y'all need to make is if you add the dirt at a 4-to-1 slope, which is the steepest slope you can get without putting a wall, you're going to lose that drive around that building. It's going to narrow it down to about 8 feet. I think we measured, what? Me and Jack measured it. It was about 8 feet.
Also would eliminate possibility of fire trucks being able to go back there if you go with option 1.
The plan showed 9 foot to the corner of the building, but you got this big red metal bollard that sticks out about 1.5 feet. It shortens it.
So what do you want to do? Go with option?
That's
Option
just
2.
y'all's preference.
What, okay, so is there any other options? Can we redirect the runoff
Well,
and
if you look at
reinforce
the
the
drainage
wall?
study, they showed, I mean, no matter which option you pick, that Family Dollar is going to have to fix their roof drains or we're
Yeah, so,
spinning our wheels.
yeah, that's true. So they need to fix the runoff because it's just keeps deteriorating
And
whatever's
as
there.
far as the storm drain, they did a drainage study. If we routed that water to the right of way of the road, then we'd have to improve the ditch and our culverts and all that, so there's added expense. So that's why they went back behind the building. Obviously, they couldn't go between the buildings for the same reason road ops couldn't do it several years ago, because all those wires and stuff between those buildings.
I talked to our purchasing director over there. Have you had any luck trying to get estimates?
Yeah, I reached out to a job order contracting company, and they are looking at it, but I've not received any numbers back yet.
I will add that the 2-foot wall is because they added a 4-to-1 slope behind that wall, but it shortens how far it comes out. And since they got it down to a 2-foot tall wall, it doesn't have to be engineered. So that's the difference. You don't have to have all that engineering for structural engineering because it's not over 4 foot. That's the problem we have now, is that wall wasn't structurally engineered. It was just cross ties.
How long was it there?
For me. So 2000, I went back to aerial pictures, 2008, 2007, something. Didn't last very long.
Property, it's not their fault. They're not going to contribute to any of it, right?
No.
On our property.
We show, the survey says it's on our property.
But they,
The problem is being a cross-tie retaining wall, it's kind of hard to prove damage, but if we do all this, it's not going to be hard to prove damage, but we don't want to wait until it's damaged. You do have 11086 of the Texas Water Code that we can use.
so
Estimate, though, is what you got.
that's mine.
No, we're just trying to finish the construction plan so we can send it out for estimates.
So what is the cost of this step that you're asking for right now? Is this part of the 10,000 that we've already
This is all
approved?
part of the, which I've already approved to finish the construction plans.
Okay, so this isn't asking for additional funds?
No, well, I just need to choose option 1 or option 2 on this.
Yeah.
That's personal preference. I mean, really, you want to get away with spending any money, but then you're going to lose the drive. I mean, if you were, you're still going to have to contract somebody to wreck that wall because there's a lot of liability involved in wrecking that wall. But if it was just dirt, you just put dirt up there and slope it.
Right, right.
A lot more.
What with the wall? Are
That's
you
not-
saying- is he saying wreck?
That's not in the IPO from the engineer. He just designed it, did a drainage study, and calculated what size storm drain we needed.
Well, that doesn't get us further down the road. I mean, it's going to eventually have to be fixed, though, isn't it?
Well, the question is, do we
Step
build a
A.
wall or a slope? And if we have a slope, we lose the driveway. I make a motion, we go for the wall. Yeah.
His options that 1 or 2, because that's what it is here. What's option 1 or 2?
Option 2's with the wall.
For the 2? All right, the motion is for option 2 for the wall.
get
Okay,
into-
I hear second by, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews for option 2 for the engineering on the wall replacement at the Acton Annex, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? No. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, good. Financial, Ms. Stephanie Matlock.
Well, hello.
Aye.
We have old budget, new budget. So old budget is $313,673.23. New budget is $649,709.54. And my office has reviewed all of these expenses and invoices and recommends payment.
Motion to pay the bills, old budget 313, 673.23, new budget 649, 709.54.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Eagle to pay the bills, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. What else you got?
It is the end of the month, so we have all of our reports. My office has reviewed all the monthly reports and bank statements, if you want to combine them, and ask that the court accepts them.
Okay, your motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve all the, or accept all the financial reports and the bank reconciliations.
Second.
All the reports and bank financial reconciliation, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further comment or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. That is it
Oh.
at 12.
Got one more.
We got to do the,
Oh,
we got to do, do we have to do the audit report?
y'all may leave with our blessings. We're convening to executive session. at-
Did we accept
we
the
have one
audit?
more?
We got to accept the audit report. The audit, yes, please, yes, please.
Acknowledge the
Ponder lunch over there.
The audit report. Stephanie?
Acknowledge and accept the 2024 review of the Justice Peace Precinct 3 financial records. You made a review of that, recommend?
I did, and I shared it with you all prior to this meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2024 review of the Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 financial records.
Financial records, second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion unanimous. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, now at 12:29, we're going into executive session. Thank you. At 20 minutes to 1, we are back on the record in Commissioners Court. No action was taken in executive session. Do I hear a motion on this item? Make a motion to table it until next week?
Motion to table
Until,
item until next court.
okay, motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to table the item until next court. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. And with that, we are adjourned.